Dead, they were pitch-black palms. A black palm pierced into the earth, forming strange black column-shaped connections with the dark clouds in the sky. The land, plants and even living things around the area where the palm is pierced will quickly wither and disappear. What everyone doesn't know is, above the dark clouds, there is a figure. The figure was dressed in an inky black robe, and his face was obscured by a strange power. Wisps of black smoke lingered around him, looking extremely strange and creepy. 3 days. The infiltration of Forbidden Area No. 3 is almost complete. The man in black robe is Guyan. He meditated above the dark clouds, directing countless hands composed of claw cells and the power of night to penetrate from above the dark clouds into the earth. He is slowly comprehending the power of this forbidden area. He slowly opened his eyes, and a strange black rune appeared in the center of his pupils. Guyan felt the power of this place and couldn't help muttering to himself. The power of living beings, the power of the No. 3 Forbidden Land is like this. The owner of the Forbidden Land, the Tree King, can make the living beings here recover their vitality continuously. The other party is protecting this area. Any dead creature within this area can be resurrected. If one absorbs the power of this forbidden area, then one will be able to integrate it with one's existing abilities. By then, even if I were killed in an accident, I would be gone. But as long as the soul is immortal, the body can be repaired. It's just a matter of time. Think of this. His eyes turned towards a huge tree that seemed to grow to the top of the sky. Just a little bit more, just need to erode it a little more. And then, I will be able to devour this tree. It was just right that during this period of time, he could come and see what the situation was like in the ancient martial arts world. Think of this. He closed his eyes and thought. Somewhere in the ancient martial arts world. But gah! A black raven flew across the sky. Everything that Guyan saw from the raven's eyes was imprinted in his mind. It can be said that this raven is now the incarnation of Guyan. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Just right for killing time. Chapter 387 First Meeting with Leng Bingning. Ancient Martial Arts World. The war was raging, and broken mountains and burning villages could be seen everywhere. The air was filled with a strong smell of blood, and the shouts of the warriors and the sounds of weapons and martial arts colliding were intertwined together. Crush! A strange raven flew across the sky and landed on the branch of a large tree that had been withered by lightning. Guyan looked around. This place is a village, and judging by its location, it is indeed located within the territory of the Thunder Sect. However, this safe place that should have been protected by the Thunder Sect has now been destroyed by invaders. The Thunder Sect has a natural geographical advantage. The sect is rich in thunder-attributed mineral products, which are excellent materials for making weapons. It had already been targeted by all the major sects. It was only because of the power of the Thunder Sect's leader that they maintained an appearance of peaceful coexistence. Now, the leader of the Thunder Sect is dead and gone, and the surrounding sects have also revealed their true faces. Looking at the village burning in flames, Guyan couldn't help but sigh softly. This is the world of ancient martial arts. At this time, a scream was heard from a distance. No, please let us go. Thump. A woman in cloth ran out of the village, holding the hand of a girl who was about the same age as Shitu and the others. It was just because the woman had scars on her abdomen, and was bleeding profusely that she fell to the ground as soon as she ran out of the village. Mother! The girl fell to the ground and rushed forward in panic to hug her mother. However, he was grabbed by warriors from other sects who came behind him. A man dressed in Ba Thankful clothing grabbed the girl's hair and lifted her up. Another man stepped forward and stomped hard on the woman. He cursed, "Bitch, how dare a mere mortal make me work so hard?" Well, the woman was too weak to speak and could only wail in pain. Mother! The girl struggled desperately, but to no avail. In just a moment, the woman died from excessive blood loss. The girl stopped struggling at this time and looked at her mother's body with dull eyes. Guyan transformed into a raven and watched everything silently. Heaven and earth are not benevolent and treat all things as straw dogs. Warriors do not even take the lives of mortals seriously. This is the cruel system of this world of warriors. Everyone's future may be determined at birth. Because the Thunder Sect wiped out the Ling family back then, Guyan killed Late Yan without Late Yan's protection. He asked the other sects to wipe out the Thunder Sect. This is cause and effect. However, originally only 10 sects launched the plundering war. But now it seems that some chain reactions have occurred. As a result, other sects also joined the war one after another. Maybe it was because I sent someone to take action. That's all. Bi Thang Mansion was also one of the forces that besieged the Ling family back then. In that case. Thinking of this, Rodden's eyes flickered slightly. Buzz. The souls of the entire village, including the soul of the little girl's mother, were instantly absorbed into his body. Since he was the one who indirectly caused the killing of innocent people, he will bear the causal responsibility. Guyan's target has always been the forces that besieged the Ling family back then. But going out to rescue people will involve more things. So it would be much easier to just absorb the souls of the dead and store them in the Claw's bodies. After the girl dies, he will absorb her soul and kill the people from Biafeng Mansion. Perhaps in this troubled world, becoming a soul and storing it in the body of Claw is the best destination for this little girl. But just when I thought of this, suddenly a cold wind swept through the place. Sizzle, just a blink of an eye. The surface of the ground within a radius of 10 miles instantly turned into ice. Even the burning village was frozen in ice crystals. What's going on? Ugh, my hands are frozen. The warrior holding the girl was looking at his arm in horror. The blood flowing on his arm instantly froze into ice, and the skin under his sleeve was covered with a thick layer of frost. His arms stiffened instantly and froze firmly in the air. Unable to move at all. Look at your companions again. I saw that the other party had turned into an ice sculpture. Before the warriors could react, a woman in snow-white clothes suddenly appeared in this frozen land. Her figure stood out in the cold wind, as if she had merged into this cold world. Under her fluttering long hair, what attracts the most attention is her pair of cold and indifferent eyes. Cold. The warrior tried hard to speak, but his voice was torn into pieces by the cold wind. The woman did not answer. Her eyes swept around and finally fell on the warrior and the girl in his hand. Why massacre the village? The woman's voice was cold, but it seemed to penetrate directly into the warrior's mind. Well, the warrior was unable to speak because the temperature was so low that he was gradually losing consciousness. Swish, a shower of ice crystals floated by. The man was frozen into an ice sculpture and showed no signs of life. Seeing this scene, the woman's expression did not change at all. She stretched out her hand and touched the center of the eyebrows of the girl, who was lifted into the air. A moment. As the ice and snow melted, the ice crystals on the girl's body gradually disappeared. But the plop. The girl fell to the ground and lost consciousness. The woman was looking at the pale-faced girl with tears in her eyes lying on the ground. Her thoughts were wandering, as if she had drifted back to the time when she left the Lang family. My sister, is she still alive? And just at this moment, brush, accompanied by the sound of flapping wings, a raven suddenly landed on the head of the warrior, who was frozen into an ice sculpture. And under the slightly focused eyes of the cold woman, he spoke slowly. Lang Bingning, I didn't expect you to have such a loving heart. Bu Yan's tone was flat, but he was thinking secretly in his heart. Lang Bingning appeared in the ancient martial arts world. Then who was Lang Bingning that I saw in the secular world before? Lang Bingning is actually a character who appears in the later part of the original Asian novel. She is Lang Qingqiu's sister who goes to the ancient martial arts world to practice. Later, he even became the leader of the Bing Xin sect and learned the sect's supreme skill, the Bing Xin Ju. But, a long time ago, Guyan had seen Lang Bingning in the secular world. It was during the Yama Palace banquet that Lang Bingning and Meizu appeared at the banquet. Later, when they went to Forbidden Area No. 5, Lang Qingqiu disguised himself as Lang Bingning and teased him. Therefore, in Guyan's opinion, Lang Qingqiu should have known Lang Bingning for a long time. So now the other party appeared in the ancient martial arts world. But it be Qingqiu told her to do something? Lang Bingning looked at the raven in front of her calmly. She was slightly confused. Raven, when did it appear? Lang Bingning was very sure that she had just glanced around and did not notice the existence of this species. But talking raven, is it a monster? But the other party seemed to know me. But he had no impression that any sect member was good at the art of transformation. Not to mention, Lang Bingning gradually became alert. She found that the talking raven in front of her was actually emitting a familiar smell to her. Chaos, darkness, evil, this malicious aggregation. Boom, she reacted immediately. An ice sword quickly condensed in Lang Bingning's hand. Swish. She pointed at the raven and said coldly, "You are the Night King." Chapter 388. Your sister is still alive. Why does this tone sound so strange? Bu Yan felt a little confused. Why was there such a big reaction? Shouldn't you have met the Night King version of Lang Qingqiu a long time ago? Could it be that? There was a gleam of light and realization in Gu Yan's eyes. If he guessed correctly, was the Lang Bingning whom he met at the banquet in Yama's palace actually Lang Qingqiu in disguise? Good job. Lang Qingqiu accidentally disguised himself as a character that already existed in the original novel. Is this the bond between sisters? Bu Yan sighed in his heart. He looked at Lang Bingning, who was looking hostile in front of him, and smiled knowingly. So there is a lot of room for maneuver. Think of this. Bu Yan spoke slowly, his voice was hoarse and low, full of weirdness and evil. Ha, Lang Bingning, your intelligence is still so sharp. It's a pity that you were not in the Lang family that year and didn't see that earth-shattering battle. Shut up. Brush. Lang Bingning frowned, and the ice sword in her hand immediately slashed towards the raven in front of her. This raven, the incarnation of the Night King, actually still has memories of the past. The other party cannot possibly be this Night King. In other words, the opponent is the dagger's clone? Are you here to find a new heir? I never thought that strange dagger really has self-awareness. Back to the present. When the ice sword struck the crow's body, the latter turned into countless black feathers and disappeared in an instant. Why make such a fuss? This is just an incarnation of me. As for you, it seems that you haven't yet cultivated the ice-hard technique to the stage of great perfection of being ruthless and desireless. A strange sound came from the other side. Ling Bingning turned her head and looked. I saw the raven appeared on the eaves behind me at some point. The other person's pupils were ink black, as dark as the abyss. Wu Yan stared at Ling Bingning closely, and his pupils reflected the other person's face, which was somewhat similar to Ling Qingqiu. They are indeed sisters, and even their personalities are almost the same. Ling Bingning took a deep breath and calmed herself down. She said coldly, "In the battle in the ancient martial arts world, you bewitched my father and contaminated him with the power of the night. He went berserk in the secular world and caused my Ling family to be besieged and destroyed. Night King, I swore from that moment on that I would kill you once and for all." Ling Bingning knew that the Night King's true form was actually the dagger. As long as the dagger was destroyed, the Night King could be completely eliminated. Wu Yan was a little confused. I see. Back then, Qingqiu's father was bewitched by the Night King's dagger. Because Ling Qingqiu is the main villain in the original novel, there is very little written about her, not to mention the truth behind the extermination of the Ling family. But Guyan doesn't think the truth is that simple. There must be more secrets about the truth behind the extermination of the Ling family. After all, he devoured the souls of many of those who had surrounded and suppressed the Ling family. It seems, I saw some fragmented memories. But these memories are very fragmented and do not form a complete timeline. Wu Yan felt that if he could devour the key figure, he might be able to learn the truth about why the Ling family was exterminated. Back to the present. Wu Yan's voice was hoarse, and he said to Ling Bingning ambiguously, "The forces that are besieging your Ling family are various forces. What does it have to do with me, the Night King? I just gave that man a little bit of power to turn the situation around. Besides, the ancient martial arts sects have always been opportunistic and have always been selfish. Did they really just want to eliminate me, the so-called world disaster, by encircling and suppressing me? If it was really just to eliminate the Night King, then why did they accidentally hurt hundreds of innocent people in the Ling family? If I remember correctly, it seems that the leader of a sect once said, 'It is better to kill the wrong person than to let him go.' This is how your father was forced to lose his mind and show up on his own initiative. Don't tell me you only hate me and not them?" Hearing this, Ling Bingning clenched the ice sword in her hands. He looked at Raven coldly and scolded him in a cold voice. "Shut up." In fact, the Night King had hit the nail on the head. Ling Bingning has not yet cultivated the Bing Xinju to the state of great perfection of being ruthless and desireless. Not because she is unable to cultivate it. It was because she deliberately didn't practice. Because she must always hold on to the hatred caused by the incident. She could not forget the harm that King Yi and those sects had caused to the Ling family. So she has to become stronger. After becoming stronger, she will first kill the Night King himself, and then eliminate all the forces that participated in the siege of the Ling family. Wu Yan smiled gently, spread his wings and flew towards Ling Bingning. He hovered in front of the other party and said in an evil voice, "Ahai, Ling Bingning, you don't have to be so hostile to me. We might be able to collaborate with each other." Hearing this, Ling Bingning resisted the urge to draw her sword again and said in a cold voice, "Cooperation? Night King, are you crazy? I don't know if it's Ling Bingning's illusion. The current incarnation of the Night King seems to be different from the previous Night Kings recorded in the books. It can be seen from the fact that the other party can communicate with her. So the other party is really the Night King's incarnation?" Gu Yan's eyes revealed a strange light. "Of course I'm not crazy. Are you? Don't you want to see your sister?" As soon as these words were spoken, ripples surged in Ling Bingning's heart. Her expression suddenly changed, and she looked at the raven in front of her in disbelief. "What did you say? My sister? But it be that my two younger sisters are still alive?" "Aha, it's your sister. Both of your sisters survived the battle." Guyan opened his mouth slowly and said something that made Ling Bingning stunned on the spot. "My two younger sisters, Ling Qingqiu Ling Linger. Are they still alive?" Ling Bingning gathered her thoughts and looked at the raven in front of her warily. "Why are you telling me this? What is your purpose? Also, where are my sister and the others?" Wu Yan slowly landed in front of the ice sculpture in front of Ling Bingning and said inexplicably, "Don't worry, Ling Bingning. If I tell you now that they are living well, I'm afraid you won't believe it. So why don't you go to the secular world and see them yourself? A Zhang Hei Ling family, they have always been there. Speaking of, Guyan transformed into a raven and gently waved his wings to the side. Buzz! A space black hole was opened. Lang Bingning was no longer surprised by this kind of move. However, besides excitement, she also felt doubtful. She stared closely at the raven in front of her, and for a moment she couldn't figure out its purpose. After thinking for a moment, Lang Bingning asked inferently, "Why are you telling me this? The Night King, what is he planning? Judging from the fact that the other party has transformed into a raven, could it be because he hasn't found a new heir?" Guyan heard this and slowly said, "I said before we can cooperate with each other. Before I state the terms of me cooperation, I can take you to meet your sisters first." Lang Bingning is a complete Kinkyu fan in the original novel, so Guyan felt extremely relieved to have her as a teammate. Furthermore, every time he devours a soul, Guyan has to bear all the pain of the person before him. If he keeps swallowing, he might become as crazy as Lang Kinkyu in the original novel before he completes all his plans. So Lang Bingning's Bing Xinju was very helpful to him. He himself did not need to practice, he just needed to let Lang Bingning suppress all the negative emotions in his heart caused by the devouring of souls. The other party already hated the forces that had encircled and suppressed the Lang family back then. So the two sides cooperated. His plan will surely proceed more steadily. The war in the ancient martial arts world has already begun. And the fact that members of the Nike organization have infiltrated the ancient martial arts world must have been a matter of vigilance for all the major sects here. If Lang Bingning helps him to coordinate internal and external forces, I believe that the sects in the ancient martial arts world will be driven to the secular world to join the warrior alliance. This helps me a lot. As for Lang Bingning, she no longer considered it. While using his true key to levitate the unconscious girl on the ground, he took a step into the black hole. Lang Bingning remained extremely vigilant. "Night King, I don't know what you are planning, but if you think I will cooperate with you, you are wrong." Lang Bingning had already decided in her heart that something had happened to the Night King while he was looking for an heir, so she waited until she confirmed that her sisters were safe. She will immediately lock onto the Night King's aura and annihilate him. Lang Bingning's figure disappeared in the black hole. The raven that Guyan transformed into also entered the black hole. Not long after the two disappeared, another group of people from Bai Feng Mansion rushed here. They all looked at the scene with grim expressions as it turned into an ice sculpture. "Damn it, Bing Xinju, someone from Bing Xin sect is actually here? Such power must be the work of Lang Bingning, the saintess of the Bing Xin sect. Sect master, young master." The words haven't finished yet. The shrill cry was heard. "Lear, that vicious saintess of the Bing Xin sect. She actually killed my Lear." A middle-aged man hugged the warrior who had turned into an ice sculpture. His eyes were red and his voice was choked with sobs. "Dad must avenge you." He wiped away his tears and shouted to the crowd. "A team will capture the Thunder sect according to the original plan. The rest of you follow me to Bing Xin sect. I will make them hand Lang Bingning over to me in exchange for Lear's life." Yes. Chapter 389. Hello sister-in-law. The secular world. Zhanghai School. Inside a newly built warrior building, Lang Linger stayed in the warrior class, looking out the window board. "Ah, so boring. Why wasn't Quan Lan assigned to the same class as me? I have no one to talk to in class." At this time, buzz! A black hole appeared in the big tree outside the window. Immediately following, a figure in a raven emerged from the black hole and stood on the branch. The figure in snow-white clothes had a common cold expression, and looked somewhat like her sister. The other person was holding a little girl in his hand. Lang Linger blinked. She rubbed her eyes. What the hell?" Behind the podium, a martial artist who has acquired cultivation is explaining the martial artist's advancement model to dozens of people in the classroom. "Classmates, your classmates in the warrior class are different from those in the regular class. Your college entrance exam is in March, which happens to be the same time as the Warrior Department's National Talent Test. As long as we can detect your martial arts talents, you can enter different schools based on your talents. This talent test is to test the achievements you can achieve in the future. This is a method of detecting warrior talents created by Master Ya from the Warrior Forum, and it was studied and improved by the department's formation division." A teacher also happened to bring a sample. As he spoke, the warrior took out a crystal ball and said with a smile, "Just put your hand on it, and it will detect the highest level of cultivation that each of you can reach in the future." Of course, what the teacher wants to say here is that everyone's future is in their own hands. What kind of achievements you will make depends on you. As the warrior was talking, he noticed that there was a little yellow-haired boy in the classroom who was looking out the window and not listening carefully. He frowned immediately. From my impression, this little yellow-haired boy seemed to be the one that his superiors were paying special attention to. But he was not told the specific reason. Anyway, he coughed and said, "Student Lang Linger, is what the teacher is talking about to boring. But this is a very important piece of knowledge for your warrior talent test in March. If you can become a warrior in the future. The words haven't finished yet. Teacher. Langlinger stood up and turned around, pointing out the window in shock. Teacher, a crow and a person suddenly appeared outside. The warrior who was speaking. He was not angry after being interrupted, and looked outside in the direction Langlinger pointed. However, there was nothing at all. Langlinger was also stunned. She had clearly seen it just now. The other students also burst into laughter. Langlinger, what are you dreaming about in broad daylight? Yes, there is still a person and a crow. Langlinger, I heard that you often acted weird in your previous classes. Why don't you behave yourself in this warrior class? Aha, people like this won't achieve anything in the future. He took a deep breath, trying to keep smiling. Linger must be too bored, so that's why he wants to say these words. How about this, you come up to the stage and test the crystal ball's detection effect on the students. As a warrior class, in fact, all of you need to complete the talent test today. Langlinger retracted her gaze and nodded helplessly. Oh, could it be that I really saw it wrong? She didn't think any more about it, and walked forward to start the talent test. 5 minutes later, bang! There was a sound of a crystal ball shattering in the classroom. Then came the shocked and frantic voice of the martial artist teacher. The crystal ball, it's broken. Grandmaster, Langlinger has the potential to be a grandmaster. On a tall building somewhere in Zhanghe. Brush. A black hole appears. The figures of Raven and Lang Bingning walked out. Lang Bingning's expression was no longer calm. She took a deep breath, suppressed her inner excitement, and murmured to herself. That's Linger. It can't be wrong, the other party is exactly the same as before. Linger is still alive and still going to school normally. Gu Yan, who turned into a raven, interrupted and said, "B is in the warrior class preparing to be promoted to a warrior." Lang Bingning ignored the incarnation of the Night King. Can you please stop talking about how familiar you are with my Linger? The world has changed drastically. Isn't it mostly because of you? The Night King, that the world has become like this? Because the Night King? Lang Bingning suddenly felt something strange. If the person in front of him now was the incarnation of the Night King, so who was the Night King who was live streaming before? The world has changed suddenly, and even Lang Bingning herself has recently started paying attention to information on the internet. Lang Bingning frowned and looked at the raven in front of her. She always felt that there's something fishy going on. So she asked in a deep voice, "What is this cooperation you are talking about? Who are you? Is it really the Night King?" Hearing this, Guyan asked in a slightly strange tone, Don't you want to meet Lang Qiyu first? Seeing is naturally what you want to see. Not now. Lang Bingning sighed in her heart, feeling a little too embarrassed to meet him. After all, she was not there when her two younger sisters needed her the most. So she shook her head inferently. No need, tell me what your cooperation is first. Hearing this, Guyan no longer concealed it. His voice began to change. And to Lang Bingning, it sounded like a normal man's voice. It's called cooperation, but actually I want to trouble you, sister-in-law, for a favor. Hello, sister-in-law, I'm afraid you won't believe me. So I resorted to this desperate measure. A raven hovered in the air, and the words it uttered made Lang Bingning stunned. Sister-in-law? Lang Bingning stared at the raven carefully for a few seconds. Brush. An ice sword quickly gathered in his hand and pointed it at the so-called raven clone in front of him. Who the hell are you? Lang Bingning's tone was cold. Sister-in-law, when did I have such a brother-in-law? Seeing this, Guyan explained helplessly, Sister-in-law, you really don't surf the internet. But Guyan could understand it. Information between the secular world and the ancient martial arts world is not well circulated. Not to mention people like Lang Bingning who are fully focused on practicing the Bing Xinju. Coupled with the birth of the Night King, all the previous information was washed away in the long stream of time on the internet. If Lang Bingning had ever paid attention to the hot information in the secular world, and as early as 2 or 3 months ago at the Gu family annual meeting, they should have known that Lang Qiyu and Langlinger were still alive. Sister, you should check the information online yourself. Thinking of this, Guyan, who had turned into a raven, took out his mobile phone from the system space, searched and explained. Lang Bingning was silent. Guyan is the eldest son of the Gu family. He became the lover of his younger sister Lang Qiyu when he was away. Bang! Lang Bingning crushed the phone that Guyan handed to her, which contained a close-up photo of her sister and Guyan. He looked at the raven in front of him with cold eyes. Let's put aside the fact that this man is his sister's lover. The other party is actually infected with the power of night. That is to say, he is the one who made the world become like this? The most important thing is, Lang Qiyu, does she know about this? However, Guyan had already expected that the other party would have this reaction when hearing this. So he clenched his fist and put it to his mouth and coughed softly. Although it was very funny for a raven to do this, sister. Don't call me sister. The sister-in-law. Ms. Lang, this is a long story, so I'll make it short. I'll give you a memory and you'll understand. As he said this, a black ball of light floated in front of Lang Bingning. Lang Bingning looked at the ball of light. This was a materialized memory ball. So there was nothing wrong with it. Thinking of this, Lang Bingning absorbed the memory. 10 minutes later, Lang Bingning opened her eyes and looked at the raven in front of her in disbelief. Turned out to be the previous Night King, his father, was indeed dead, and the dagger had found a new Night King. That is Link Inqiyu. My own sister actually became the Night King? However, Guyan took away the dagger and he lost the power of night. The most important thing is, Guyan's final plan is actually like this? Lang Bingning looked at Guyan with a complicated expression for a moment. What you want me to do is to use the ice heart technique to suppress your negative emotions and keep you rational. Right? Yen nodded. In fact, even if I didn't meet you, I would go find you. At this point, Guyan's tone became more relaxed. But who would have thought that we would meet by chance like this? This is the bond between our family. Lang Bingning stopped talking. She stared at the raven in front of her, her mind full of thoughts. And finally she sighed softly. I understand. Seeing this, Guyan smiled and said, I understand then. I'll take you to the forbidden area now. Can you help me suppress my negative emotions first? I've swallowed too much recently, and I can't handle it anymore. I'll tell you the detailed plan later. As soon as these words came out, Lang Bingning shook her head slightly and said in a deep voice, Don't worry about it, I still have something to do. Guyan was stunned. There was something else, and his tone was so heavy. But it be that he wanted to find a place for the little girl in his hand first? Just when I thought of this, I heard the other party say, Now you can take me to see our Kinqiyu. Watch from a distance. Don't let her get discovered like Linger did. Guyan. Chapter 390. Lang Bingning joins the camp. Lang family. Inside the compound, Lang Kinqiyu was suspended in Midra, with 10 white blades floating behind him. In addition to this, there is a faintly visible blade that seems to be condensing. In less than a moment, boom, as a powerful aura spread from all around. The 11th white blade also completely turned into substance. Lang Kinqiyu opened her eyes, her pupils were bright white, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Very good. The 11th spiritual blade has also been condensed. It seems that the intimate practice method I practiced with Guyan before was indeed effective. A number of mental blades on the back actually represents how strong a person's mental power is. According to Lang Kinqiyu's guess, his current strength has probably reached the level of the first person under the Grand Master. After all, the psychic's method of killing is to attack the soul directly. Even Long Tianyuan, the head of the warrior department, might not be able to block the knife from behind her. Lang Kinqiyu's current mental power coverage area has reached 1,000 miles. With just a thought, she can sense any situation and movement within the range of her mental perception. If he continues to practice, Lang Kinqiyu's spiritual perception range will be able to cover the entire river and sea. At that time, every blade of grass, every flower and every tree, no movement can escape her mental lock. At this time, buzz. 2 auras suddenly appeared in a place less than 100 meters away from the Ling family. There was a faint breath and he seemed to have lost consciousness. The other is at the level of mid-stage Grand Master. Ever since the last time the enemy attacked the Ling family and wanted to capture Lang Linger, Lang Kinqiyu has been carefully spreading the spider web of mental power. After sensing the other party at this time, Lang Kinqiyu frowned. Is it an enemy? No, something is wrong. This master's aura is really familiar. It's like we've seen each other many years ago. Lang Bingning was holding the little girl with a raven standing on her shoulder. From here, she could peek at Lang Kinqiyu who was practicing. She couldn't help but sigh. Sister has become much stronger. The mysterious creator of the mind control method turned out to be his own sister. Kinqiyu is amazing, my wife. Guyan said proudly on the side. To be on the safe side, he simply concealed his breath and blended himself with nature. Even if it was Lang Kinqiyu, if he wasn't carefully investigated, he might not be found. It's my sister. Lang Bingning was still very depressed that her cabbage was eaten by a pig. But she had to accept this reality. After learning about everything Guyan had done, she realized that Guyan loved his sister deeply. I've seen enough. Lang Bingning said softly, let's go, take me to the place you mentioned. Okay, oh yeah, what about this little girl? I plan to take her back to Bing Xi insect. The words fell. Buzz. The black hole opened, and Lang Bingning and Guyan disappeared in an instant. After sensing the breath leaving, Cici. Silver needles of spiritual power that were invisible to the naked eye also dissipated from the area around Ling Bingning and others. Ling Qingqiu calmed his mind and retracted his ability. It seems that he is not an enemy, he just came to check the situation. Also the other party appeared suddenly and left suddenly. Ling Qingqiu only had a few candidates in his mind who had the ability to use space. He didn't feel the aura of a master from someone who showed any signs of practicing his skills. In other words, is there a third person around the other party who can escape her perception? It can not only jump through space, but also conceal its aura so that she won't be discovered. Could it be? Ling Qingqiu clenched his fists and a figure popped up in his mind. Is it Gu Yan? If it was Gu Yan, why didn't he come into the house to see her when he arrived at the door of her house? What a bastard. I wonder what evil plans he is secretly making. Forbidden Area No. 3. Rumble. The invasion of dark clouds continues. The earth, which was originally green and full of vitality, is now gradually becoming dead silent. Boom boom boom. Giant black hands pierced into the earth, not only devouring the living beings here, but also breaking the forbidden power of this place and taking it for their own use. Buzz. The black hole appears. Ling Bingning slowly walked out of the black hole, and her eyes immediately locked onto Guyan, who was sitting on the dark clouds. His image was not quite what she had imagined. The other person was wearing a black robe, and because he was constantly absorbing the power of living beings, Guyan's hair also grew and extended. His long black hair fluttered in the wind, and every strand seemed to contain powerful life force. Bang! The raven on Ling Bingning's shoulder disappeared. She walked forward and met Guyan's true form for the first time. Guyan? Ling Bingning spoke, her brows slightly furrowed. According to her perception, it seemed that countless evil intentions were gathering and colliding in Guyan's body. And how could Guyan endure such horrific malice alone? Seeing the surging black air emanating from Guyan, Ling Bingning no longer bothered about it. She stepped forward and quickly made a few hand seals. Buzz! Waves of cold air emanated from here, and then she pointed towards Guyan's forehead. He shouted in a low voice, "Ice Heart Technique." Boom! A moment. The black energy was quickly suppressed, and Guyan's expression gradually relaxed. Do all this. Ling Bingning looked at Guyan quietly, and the power of rules that concealed the other person's appearance gradually disappeared. Guyan's handsome face was revealed. Ling Bingning nodded secretly. Judging from appearance alone, she is indeed a good match for my Qingqiu. As Guyan removed his disguise, Ling Bingning also sensed something special. She frowned. Sensing from such a close distance, it seemed that Guyan was emitting some Qingqiu's aura fluctuations. This is obviously a scent that only the closest people can smell. Bastard, this guy must have forced my Qingqiu to do such an intimate thing. Next second, Guyan opened his eyes and his gaze swept over Ling Bingning in front of him. He stood up, a smile on his face, and bowed his hands in thanks. Thank you for your help, sister-in-law. Oh, no need to waste time talking nonsense. What is your next plan? Since Ling Bingning knew that these were all family members and understood Guyan's ultimate goal, she would naturally stand on his side. Seeing that Ling Bingning was so sensible, Guyan no longer concealed it. He restrained his smile, looked at Ling Bingning, and said slowly, "If I say, I want to destroy the ancient martial arts world, what do you think, sister?" Ling Bingning's expression changed. Destroy the ancient martial arts world? Guyan nodded. Yes, the reason why the ancient martial arts world exists to this day is actually because of a natural restriction connecting the secular world and the ancient martial arts world. And I only need to destroy this restriction then. The secular world can be connected with the ancient martial arts world. The energy of heaven and earth will merge with each other, making this world a new home. My original idea was to make the forces in the ancient martial arts world understand the danger of the Night King, so that they would take the initiative to join the warrior alliance that has been created. But unfortunately the sects in the ancient martial world would rather start a war and plunder resources within the ancient martial world than join the secular world. Then, I will have to resort to other means. Ling Bingning took a deep breath after hearing this. Her eyes were solemn as she said in a deep voice, "The barrier connecting the two worlds is not only guarded by the 5 most powerful forces in the ancient martial arts world. More importantly, this restriction can make the energy of heaven and earth gather in the ancient martial arts world. If the restriction is broken, it is equivalent to dispersing the already scarce energy of heaven and earth to the entire world. You want to divide something that originally only has 10 portions into thousands and millions of portions. This affects the interests of all warriors in the ancient martial arts world. When the time comes, you will have to face the entire ancient martial arts world. Even if there was no force to encircle and suppress the Ling family at the beginning, they would definitely take action at that time. However, even so, Guyan just chuckled and shook his head. I have come this far. I don't care whether there are hundreds or thousands of opponents. Of course, the prerequisite for me to do this is that I first master the power of the Forbidden Land. Gu Yan looked towards a giant tree in the distance that reached straight into the sky. When I comprehend and master all the power of the Forbidden Land, it will be the time for the ancient martial arts world and the secular world to merge. Don't worry, it won't be too late. After hearing this, Lang Bingning felt that Gu Yan was just dreaming. No matter how powerful the Night Kings were, they could not defeat the warriors working together. Gu Yan, where does his confidence come from? Lang Bingning nodded. I understand, I will help you. Gu Yan is his sister's lover. And he is also the only family he has in this world. I must help with this. The words fell. Rush. A figure of raven appeared again on Lang Bingning's shoulder. Lang Bingning looked at Gu Yan in confusion. The latter explained. Don't get me wrong, in order to be absolutely sure, I need to win over more forces. A war in the ancient martial arts world will surely seduce many people to work for me. Lang Bingning sneered. I really thought you were confident that you could fight 100 people alone. Gu Yan shrugged. All previous Night Kings thought they could do this. And most people also boasted about the Night King to this extent. But they all died anyway. I have to make sure the plan goes smoothly. Of course, there was one thing Gu Yan didn't say. That was Lang Qinkyu in the original novel, who really did it by himself, killing his way through the ancient martial arts world, the underworld, and then the secular world, almost causing the entire world to collapse. But that was Lang Qinkyu in the original novel. What does it have to do with me pretending to be the Night King Gu? Although Gu Yan is already very powerful now, he is a very steady and cautious person. Especially since this might be the last world and the last chance. Only by acting carefully and cautiously at every step can you increase your chances of success. Lang Bingning nodded. This was a good idea. At least Gu Yan didn't act on his impulse. She glanced at the little girl in her hand and said slowly, in that case, I will go back to Bing Xin sect first. After settling this little girl, I will follow your incarnation to the ancient martial arts world. Well, to recruit talents. Okay, take this. It's a claw voice changer that can help you change your voice. And this, a claw cloak that can help you conceal your identity. By the way, just in case, I prepared a claw brand substitute dummy for you to fake your death and escape. Gu Yan nodded, then raised his right hand. Buzz. Several things floated in front of Lang Bingning. A black sphere that can change sound. A scarecrow the size of a palm. A black cape with a built-in hood. It is the same style as the one Lao Gao wore before. It is windproof, waterproof and electric-proof, lightweight and can cover all smells. This is it. Claw cape. Van conceal all auras, making it impossible to see one's appearance. Lang Bingning accepted a series of items and looked at Gu Yan's skillful distribution. It was obviously not the first time he had done this. She looked at Gu Yan in silence, then stepped into the black hole and disappeared. This level of naming who taught him? And Gu Yan sat on the dark clouds again. He closed his eyes and began to absorb and comprehend the power of this forbidden land. There are 5 kinds of this forbidden power in the world today. This will take some time. Chapter 391 Bing Xin Sect. Time passes. It came to evening. Ancient martial arts world, Bing Xin Sect. Buzz. As the teleportation formation flickered, Lang Bingning's figure appeared here. On her shoulder stood Gu Yan's incarnation, a black raven. At this time, Gu Yan had already used special means to conceal his breath. So even if someone talked to Lang Bingning face to face, they would not be able to detect Gu Yan. And as soon as you enter the Bing Xin sect, Lang Bingning immediately noticed something was wrong. Gu Yan also said inexplicably, there are fluctuations of true energy from other sects. They are from the Bai Feng Mansion. The Bai Feng Mansion is one of the top sects in the ancient martial arts world. Its leader, Bai Lin, is a mid-stage Grand Master, and was once an allied sect with the Thunder Sect. However, ever since the death of Late Yan, the leader of the Thunder Sect, Bai Feng Mansion has launched a sect annexation war against the Thunder Sect. The 2 warriors killed by Lang Bingning before were also from Bai Feng Mansion. Now they appear here. It seems. I came to see you. Gu Yan looked at Lang Bingning. The other party's expression did not change at all. He just said calmly, Bai Feng Mansion was also one of the forces that besieged the Ling family back then. If they don't look for me, I will destroy them sooner or later. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved forward again. His destination was the sect's main hall. Wow, she is indeed a good aunt. Gu Yan smiled in his heart. If that's the case, then I'll help you add fuel to the fire. Next second, an order was sent to Shitouyu and others in the ancient martial arts world. Everyone, destroy Bai Feng Mansion. In an instant, the people from the Yi organization who were in various parts of the ancient martial arts world were stunned for a moment. The Lord's new order. Destroy Bai Feng Mansion. Destroy Bai Feng Mansion. Quickly. Stop immediately and destroy Bai Feng Mansion first. Yes. Swish, 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 swish. Countless black shadows disappeared. And those who were left alive looked at their companions in confusion. What did they hear? Bai Feng Mansion? Was it Bai Feng Mansion that saved their lives? Inside the main hall of Bing Xian sect. You mean GBA? Our Bai Feng Mansion and your Bing Xian sect have nothing to do with each other. But what did your good disciple Lang Bingning do? The ancient martial arts world is a world where the strong prey on the weak. What does our Bai Feng Mansion's annexation of the Thunder sect have to do with her? Now, my son is dead although his soul has been preserved. Do you know how hard it is to find the materials needed to make a physical body? No one has found the soul-fixing grass for millions of years. What's the difference between my son being dead and dead? Amen GBA, if you don't give me an explanation, I'm afraid I won't let your Bing Xian sect go. Bai Feng Mansion's sect master Bai Alin stood in the main hall and shouted coldly at a woman with closed eyes and icy long hair above him. The woman was none other than the leader of Bing Xian sect. Yumen GBA. He is a powerful man in the middle stage of Grand Master. And he is only one step away from cultivating the Ice Heart technique to the Great Perfection realm. After listening to this, Yumen GBA opened his eyes and spoke slowly. Now that things have come to this, what does sect leader Bai mean? Bialin snorted coldly when he heard this. Humph. I want Ling Bingning to exchange my son's life for hers. I want her to die. After hearing this, Yumen GBA frowned and rejected it coldly. Impossible. Impossible? Good. Then you just wait for our Bai Feng Mansion and your Bing Xian sect to go to war. Right now, the ancient martial arts world is in a state of war because of the Night King's incident. The cold fairies in the Bing Xian sect must have been coveted by others for many years. You need to think this through carefully. When Bialin heard this, he immediately shouted angrily. As Bialin spoke, the other disciples of Bai Feng Mansion also began to mock him one by one. Why do you look so grim? Is there something wrong with what our leader said? You all think you are superior. Haha, that's right. I've long heard that Fairy Ling Bingning is peerless. Once we capture her, we will definitely taste her. And listening to the shameless remarks of Bai Feng Fu and others, the other Bing Xian sect disciples in the hall were so angry that they drew their swords and shouted. Shameless. You, the Bai Feng Mansion, are really going too far. Bai Lin, you are a master, but what you say is no different from that of a gangster. Hearing this, Guart deaf. The Grand Master's authority cannot be insulted. There was a hint of murderous intent in Bai Phosphorus' eyes. Boom! A stream of true energy rushed around. He rushed directly towards the disciple who was speaking. If you get hit, you'll probably die on the spot. Yumen GBA's eyes narrowed. And she also used her true energy to resist. Boom! The two streams of true energy collided, causing a powerful airflow to explode in the hall. Do all this. Yumen GBA stood up and looked coldly at Bai Lin below the hall. Master Bai, do you really want to start a war? Bai Lin sneered. My leader is dead. Either I kill Lang Bingning or we start a war. However, the words had just fallen, and Meng Bai hadn't replied yet. Oh, a sneer filled with endless murderous intent suddenly came from outside. Immediately following, the temperature inside the hall dropped suddenly. Glal. In an instant, this place was covered with ice crystals. At the same time, the disciples of Bai Feng Mansion present also looked at their bodies in horror. Sect Master, our bodies. Master, save me. Metropolitan. This is Bing Xianju? Seeing this, Bialin's pupils shrank. And his expression became extremely furious. He turned his head and wore towards the entrance of the hall. Ling Bingning, how dare you? However, what came in response to White Phosphorus was an extremely cold remark. Why not? Bang! As the words fell, the disciples of Bai Feng Mansion present at the scene instantly shattered into ice crystals the moment they turned into ice sculptures. Senior sister. Master's sister is back. Senior sister. Yumen GBA, I looked at Ling Bingning who was standing at the door and raised his hand to kill several people from Bai Feng Mansion. I couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. Now we have to go to war. Ling Bingning walked in with a frosty face. She looked towards the center of the hall. Her eyes red with anger, her chest rising and falling with white phosphorus, and said calmly, I killed all your people. If you want to war, then come and fight. You good. Bai Phosphorus was so angry that he almost lost his mind. He looked at Ling Bingning, then at Yumen GBA on the stage, and nodded, okay, you Bing Xian sect are doing great. In that case, then just wait for the flames of the battlefield to spread here. After saying that, he passed by Ling Bingning, turned around and left towards the entrance of the hall. See this scene. Buzz. Ling Bingning gathered coldness in her palms and looked coldly at Bialin's back. I am not afraid of white phosphorus, but if I take action, the other disciples of Bing Xi insect will definitely be affected. That's all. Wu Yan saw what Leng Bingning meant, and he chuckled. No hurry, he won't be able to survive after we return to Ba, Feng mentioned. As expected, she is King Qiu's sister. The style of doing things is decisive and efficient. As soon as these words came out, Leng Bingning retracted her true energy and her expression gradually relaxed. Well, he is worthy of being my brother-in-law. Senior sister. Big sister. Oh. Sister, we are so scared. It's over. A group of disciples also came up. The Bing Xian sect has special skills, so it only recruits female disciples. Leng Bingning is the saint of Bing Xian sect and has a very high prestige. Yeah, everything is fine. Leng Bingning comforted them one by one. In her eyes, these disciples were like her sisters. Yumen Gba, I walked down at this time. She looked at Leng Bingning and said in a calm voice. But her words revealed her concern. The Bai Feng mansion is about to go to war. You just came back, go back and recuperate. As he spoke, Yumen Gba also saw the little girl in Leng Bingning's hand. Who is this? Upon hearing this, Leng Bingning first glanced at the raven on her shoulder. The other party noticed the cold gaze and tilted his head. Oh, can they really not see Guyan? Interesting. Thinking of this, Leng Bingning replied, Master, this is the girl that I rescued from Bai Feng mansion. I want to keep her. As soon as these words came out, Yumen Gba understood the whole situation. She nodded. I understand. As he spoke, Yumen Gba stretched out his hand and placed it on the little girl's head to examine her. After realizing that the other person was fine, she nodded, looked at Leng Bingning and smiled. In that case, then you can guide her in her cultivation. Leng Bingning bowed and replied, okay. Chapter 392. Abyss Annihilation Technique, one of the original heroines. Bai Feng Mansion. Hush. The teleportation array is activated. The figure of white phosphorus appeared here. His face was grim. Bing Xi insect, how dare you show me such a displeasure? In that case, don't blame me for starting a sect war against you. This time, I will definitely mobilize all my forces to slaughter all of you in the Bing Xi insect. Having said that, Bielin immediately shook his head. That's not right. Leng Bingning's cultivation level is at the middle stage of Grand Master level. And Yumen Gba's cultivation level is also at the middle stage of Grand Master level. I don't have enough strength on my side, so I have to ask the ancestor. That is, my father, to come out. But the ancestor has been guarding the border restriction area all year round. However, for this kind of sect battle, it should be okay to come back occasionally. Thinking of this, just as Bai Lu was about to take a step forward, buff, bang, the Grandmaster's body protection was shattered. A sharp sound of cutting meat came from his ears. Bai Lin was startled and lowered his head slightly. But the sight in his eyes was getting lower and lower. With a plop, he was horrified to find that his upper body appeared in his own field of vision. Take a closer look. His own head was cut off and rolled to the ground. Because the cutting speed was too fast and coupled with his master's physique. White phosphorus still has some consciousness until now. But this remaining consciousness is gradually disappearing. How could that be? Who is it? Who broke into Ba Feng mansion? Brush. Under the white phosphorus's bloodshot eyes, black shadows appeared here. The White Phoenix Palace's leader is dead. Mission accomplished. My lord has instructed us to destroy the clan. Okay, brother Shitu, how about we compete to see who kills the most? Chao Ba, you. A sound gradually faded away. White phosphorus has completely lost consciousness. What on earth happened? And at the same time, in a mysterious forbidden space, 5 figures are sitting cross-legged in 5 different directions. One of the white-haired old men suddenly opened his eyes, and a terrifying aura of a late-stage Grandmaster surged from his body. He raised his head and howled to the sky. Who is it? Who killed my Liner? Who is it? When I come out of seclusion, I will kill your entire family. Boom boom boom. Waves of pressure surged here. The other 4 opened their eyes slightly and frowned slightly. Is there anyone who can actually destroy Bai Feng Mansion? What happened outside? After the white-haired old man finished roaring, he bit his finger and made a hand seal. No. Buzz. A picture appeared in the center of the crowd. In the picture, it was the burning Bai Feng Mansion. Countless bodies fell to the ground. Brush. Dark shadows appeared on the screen and slaughtered the disciples of Bai Feng Mansion. What is this? Night? Night? The Night King is resurrected? The Night Organization has reappeared. Great. This old man is saved. What's weird is, the Night King is clearly feared by the outside world. But in the eyes of this group of people, it seemed like a very exciting news. Everyone's expressions became excited. The white-haired old man's pupils shrank. and he clenched his teeth. How dare you, Night King? Destroy my Bai Thing mansion. When I get out, I will kill you again. However, hearing this, but it caused dissatisfaction among others. Old White Devil, you killed the Night King once 50 years ago. This time, you have to leave it to us no matter what. Yeah, you can't kill them every time. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I've already got what I wanted. You can kill anyone you want. I just want the Night King to die. When everyone heard this, they all smiled strangely and said, in that case then we have to rely on your strength. Fiancee sect. Late at night. Little girl lying on the bed. He looked out the window with lifeless eyes. She seemed dead. Yet not dead. Everyone in the village was killed by warriors. His father's intestines were broken and his mother died in front of him. And what's the meaning of her living? The little girl lowered her head and looked at her bandaged hands. Fiancee on. Is this the fiancee sect that my mother always told me stories about? The sect that my mother had always wanted to join. Now I'm here but my mom and dad are gone. What's the point of living? A whole village is dead. Friends, relatives, those familiar uncles and aunts. All dead. At this time, rush. What revenge? A voice as if from hell appeared in the ears of the little girl. She shuddered all over. He looked up in a daze. Just see. I don't know when. The starry sky outside the window has turned scarlet. And standing at the window was a black raven. The raven's pupils were as black as ink. And when she looked closely at his pupils, the little girl felt as if she was being sucked in. Are you, a ghost? The little girl's tone was filled with death. But it be that he is here to pick her up? Or am I still dreaming? Do you want to avenge your family? Do you want to gain power? However, the raven continued to talk to himself. Hearing this, the little girl's eyes finally showed a glimmer of light. Wait, is this not a dream? Her tone became a little hurried. I want revenge. Rush. Hearing this, the raven flew in front of the little girl. The voice is low and strange. The world is cruel. This world is full of unnecessary wars. Accept this power, you can gain the power of revenge. But at the same time, your soul will fall into the abyss. The words fell. A black feather slowly floated down from the sky in front of the little girl. The little girl carefully stretched out her hands to catch it. Falling into the abyss whatever. As long as revenge. Well, she does. And just thought of this. The feather merged into the little girl's palm. In an instant, a message came into the girl's mind. Abyss extinction skill. An evil technique from the abyss that can increase its own power by devouring the power of others. Abyss extinction power? The girl raised her head and was about to ask Raven about something. But found. Everything around me disappeared. Whether it's a raven or a scarlet sky. But what did not disappear was the information about the martial arts in his mind. The girl's name is Xinglian. Dark place. Ling Bingning looked calmly at Xinglian, whose expression was gradually regaining its spirits in the room. She looked at Guyan beside her. What did you do? Guyan tilted his head. I didn't do anything, sister. Just as a joke, I gave her a martial arts book that I created. Guyan began to explain. The effect of this technique is certainly not as simple as just absorbing cultivation points. Its most important function is to be able to divide a portion of it and feed it back to the creator of the technique. That is, Guyan himself. And because the claw cells were mixed in when receiving the exercises. Therefore the life of anyone who practices this technique will be controlled by Guyan. In the end, Guyan could even absorb all the cultivation of the master of the technique and feed it back to himself. What he has to do now is to spread this skill to all parts of the world. Certainly, there was a reason why he gave it to the little girl first. I didn't react at first. But then think about it. The village of the Thunder Clan was destroyed and adopted by the Ice Heart Clan. Isn't this Xinglian, one of the heroines in the original novel and one of the concubines of the original hero Shaolin? Because Shaolin died, Guyan almost forgot about the other girls of destiny in this book, since we have come to the ancient martial arts world. So first of all what Guyan needs to do is to take the lives of the other heroines into his own hands. This is the only way to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Chapter 393. 1 month later, the power of the Forbidden Land is about to be comprehended. Time passes. 1 month later. The world of all mankind has changed dramatically. Monsters and warriors began to appear in people's daily lives. The Warrior Alliance officially began to implement comprehensive warrior talent testing. Before that, countless warrior equipment had been completed. Among them, the sword department is already known to everyone. In the center of Zhangye City, broadcasts were heard throughout the city. Attention everyone, attention everyone. The second-level monster giant rock golem is heading towards Zhangye Road. Please evacuate to a safe place immediately. A second-level monster. Oh no, isn't this the powerful monster that the Warriors' official website said is comparable to a late-stage innate warrior? It actually appeared in Zhangchai City. This is the second monster attack this month. Stop talking, retreat to a safe place. Countless warriors began to evacuate the crowd to the safe point built by the Alliance. Just a few minutes after the evacuation. Roar. A deafening roar resounded through the sky. Brush, brush, brush. Figures in white clothes shuttled between the tall buildings. They stood on a tall building, observing a huge monster in the distance from afar. The other party was huge, about 50 meters tall. A whole body is made of a kind of hard rock and minerals. Its skin is gray-brown and covered with moss and mineral crystals that shimmer in the sunlight. The rock golem has a massive head with deep eye sockets and a wide mouth lined with sharp rock teeth. A man in white had a serious look in his eyes and said in a deep voice, "It's bad, this monster has reached the peak of the second stage. It is only one step away from entering the third stage. By then, it will be comparable to the Grandmaster level." The other man nodded and said solemnly, "Yes, this is the second monster attack in the Alliance this month. The monsters have been restless recently and have been upbraiding and breaking through one after another." What exactly happened? The words fell. Boom. Tall buildings were knocked down and collapsed by the advancing giant. As if it had discovered the man in white and others, the eyes of the giant rock golem turned scarlet. It raised its hands, and a huge rock with a diameter of 100 meters slowly condensed out. "Scatter, the golem is about to attack." A man shouted and retreated violently. The rest of the people also dispersed. Then the stone monster threw the huge rock in its hand. Boom. In an instant, a deep pit was created where the man in white and others were, along with the building. Everyone dispersed to different places. Their faces looked extremely ugly. "Damn it, this is not something that a few of us post-entail warriors can handle." The man in white pressed the microphone, requesting support. The giant rock golem in the city center is at the peak of the second stage. What? Peak of the second level? And you hold on for a while longer? The situation here is not very optimistic. Well, this is a bit tricky for us. Hearing this, the man in white gritted his teeth, put down his hand and looked at the others. He shouted loudly, "All sword bearers, other areas are also attacked by monsters. We are the only ones left here. There are millions of people behind us. We cannot retreat. Everyone, follow me." The words fell. Buzz. A white sword condensed from the man's hand. "This is the spirit blade." "Yes." The others nodded and condensed their own spiritual weapons. The weapons condensed from each person's spiritual power are different. Some are shields, some are knives, and some are modern sniper rifles. Following in order, the sword bearers charged towards the giant beast like tigers descending from the mountains. The NGBA. The stone statue felt provoked, and dense stones immediately condensed around its body and smashed towards the swordsman and others. The sword bearer and others also released their spiritual power to fight against it. Boom! Their spiritual weapons streaked bright rays of light in the air, interweaving with the attacks of the behemoths, creating a deafening sound. Roar! The attack of mental power can cause substantial damage to the opponent, even if it comes into contact with the enemy's attack. However, since these sword wielders had weak mental strength, the damage caused by their attacks was of no use other than angering the stone statues. Just see. The stone statue's eyes turned red, and its body began to emit a flickering red light. "This is advanced? You must be kidding, advancing in battle? Are you also our minister's sister? They can't retreat. Retreat now. Everyone in this area of the city center must die." And in just these few seconds, the stone statue has completed its advancement. Its entire body has turned scarlet, and its aura alone is enough to shatter the surrounding buildings into powder. Roar! It roared at the swordsman and others then. Stones appeared around the swordsman and others and smashed towards them rapidly. Oops! The eyes of the sword holders focused at this moment. I seemed to have stood still. If they were hit by the boulder, they would probably die on the spot. And the people in the safe base, they were also watching the real-time images inside the base. They clenched their hands and said in a worried tone, "The sword bearers are going to lose." "No, the sword wielder will not lose. That's right, come on, sword bearers. Come on." And it seemed that he heard the calls of the crowd. The sword holders quickly made hand seals with both hands at this thrilling moment. Everyone's mental power merges with the mental power. In an instant, a spiritual spiderweb appeared around everyone. Boom! The stones were blasted away. The mental spider web shattered. Well, everyone flew backwards and scattered everywhere. Everyone's face was pale, and they were no longer able to condense a spiritual blade in their hands. They survived but without the possibility of fighting again. Fred! Boom! The stones gathered together again, and the stone statue walked towards them step by step. Feeling the coming of death, everyone showed a hint of despair. Is this the end of it? However, just when the stone statue was about to take action and kill everyone, next second, A voice as cold as frost sounded from the air. Destroy. The words fell. Rush. A short spiritual blade suddenly cut through the sky and pierced directly into the central core of the stone statue. Theft. Boom. With the core broken, the stone statue seemed to freeze for a moment. And then boom. It shattered into black ashes and disappeared into the world. This process takes only 1 second. The sword bearers stared blankly at the scattered stones around them. Everyone looked at each other in disbelief. Then they came to their senses and looked at the white figure standing in the place of the stone statue. There were 12 spiritual short blades floating behind the opponent. With a cold temperament and a stunning face. This person is exactly Minister Leng. The minister is here. Minister Leng. Leng Qingqiyu stood in the air, looking at the sword bearers calmly. She said in a cold voice, "Calm the masses." As soon as the words fell, swish, her figure disappeared. Several members of the sword division felt that they had survived a disaster. This is Minister Leng. Leng Qingqiyu is the head of our sword department. In the past half-month, no monster can withstand a single blow from her. Some people say that Minister Leng may be the #1 person below the Grand Master. Too strong. The people in the safe base also shouted loudly. Minister Leng is worthy of being the strongest combat force of our human side. That's right, with Minister Leng here, why should we be afraid of the Night King? Minister Leng is the hope of all of us humans. When I become a warrior, I will also join the sword club. And in the dark, the Black Raven was watching everything here. He looked at the white figure that disappeared here. He laughed, softly. Qingqiyu has actually condensed 12 spiritual blades. It's no exaggeration to say that he is the best in the world with such talent. This also explains why Leng Qingqiyu's version of the Night King in the original novel is so different. As expected of my sister, Leng Bingning, wearing a black cloak, appeared from the darkness. She glanced at Gu Yan beside her and asked, "How's the progress over there? When can we start the next step?" Raven tilted his head and replied, "Almost there. I will soon comprehend the power of Forbidden Land. No. 3. After that, comprehending the power of other forbidden areas will be twice as effective with half the effort. By the way, how is the situation at the Fengyu dynasty that I asked you to pay attention to?" Chapter 390 for Mastering the Power of Living Beings. Zhang Eroyu's death. The Fengyu dynasty is the dynasty where Feng Eroyu, one of the heroines of the original novel, lived. It is one of the upper forces in the ancient martial arts world. The ruler of their dynasty, Yu Huang, is at the late Grand Master level. However, in the original novel, Yu Huang was assassinated by Leng Qingqiyu. This caused the Fengyu dynasty to fall into endless panic. And an internal power struggle followed. As the eldest princess, Feng Eroyu carries the spirit of the phoenix and is able to mobilize the destiny of the entire Fengyu dynasty. This enabled her to finally turn the tide and become the first female emperor of the Fengyu dynasty. In the later period, a monster crisis also occurred, which caused Shaolin to become involved with the other party. However, this is a plot that only appears in the later part of the original work. Leng Bingning groaned for a moment, then slowly said, "Yu Huang made a mistake while practicing the Phoenix Nine Heavens technique, which caused his true ki to reverse and he was seriously injured. And it was publicly stated that Yu Huang had an epiphany and was in seclusion." At this point, Leng Bingning shook her head slightly and said in a cold voice, "But even if the injury is cured, this indelible hidden injury will remain in Yu Huang's body forever. He has forever stopped at the late Grand Master stage in his life." Gu Yan chuckled, "Very good. Then it's my turn to act. It's exactly the same as described in the original book. In order to reach the peak of the late Grand Master stage, Yu Huang became obsessed with cultivation and went astray. Suffering from a hidden injury, he was assassinated by Leng Qingqiyu a few years later. And what Gu Yan wanted to do was not to seduce the original heroine in Fengyu dynasty. The person he wanted to seduce was none other than the Feather Emperor of the Fengyu dynasty. Silk. A feather appeared in front of Gu Yan. Inside, there is the detailed information of Abyss Annihilation technique. He bewitched Yu Huang into practicing, and then let him spread the Abyss Annihilation technique to the entire dynasty. One person tells 10 people tell 100 people. Wait until the time is ripe for the fruits to fall. It was time for Gu Yan to close the net. Let's get started. My dear sister. The feather fell into Leng Bingning's palm. The latter looked at the feather in his hand and said something unrelated. "You haven't been back to see my sister for a month." This. Gu Yan was stunned, then said helplessly, "It's not that I don't have time." "Oh, you better not have time. Is Qingqiyu's sister. If it weren't for these trivial matters, do you think I wouldn't want to stick to Qingqiyu every day? Don't underestimate my love for Qingqiyu. Nerve. Bush. The black holes appeared, and Gu Yan and Leng Bingning's figures disappeared here respectively. Forbidden Area No. 3. The Forbidden Area No. tree, which was originally full of vitality, now became full of deathly silence. Densely packed hands covered 99% of the ground. The only piece of unpolluted pure land is the giant tree that towers into the sky. Guyan's real body was sitting on top of the dark clouds. Besides the black smoke, there was also a green ore of life surrounding him. In his sea of consciousness, there are two forces that are constantly chasing him. A force of night, a force of living things. The power of night can devour everything, even the power of forbidden areas. This is something that Pawpaw cannot do. Time passes. The green life force seemed to be showing signs of fatigue. The next second, buzz, the power of night approached the power of living beings. It was like a beast that caught its prey and devoured the power of living beings in an instant. And at the same time, outside world, boom, a dazzling dark green light emanated from Guyan's body. The powerful aura made his body float slowly, and the dark green aura spread from the dark clouds to the bottom. Gurgle. A chilling scene happened. The trees that should have withered were covered and polluted by the dark green aura. They are revived, but unlike normal trees, the colors of these trees and plants are not only strangely black, but also, one by one, they began to emerge from the ground as if they had life. Their roots twisted like countless tentacles looking for prey. The branches and leaves of these trees were no longer emerald green, but a deep black, emitting an ominous sheen. They swayed in the air, making rustling sounds. Above the sky, Guyan slowly opened his eyes. In his pupils, there was a dark green light flowing. This is the power of living things after being devoured by the power of night. He felt it for a moment, then stretched out his palm, and a ball of ethereal dark green energy appeared in the center of his palm. Guyan understood this power. Any life absorbed by this power will be contaminated and transformed into a new type of monster. An immortal. Oh, almost there. The corners of Guyan's mouth curled up slightly. He floated in the air and clenched his fists. Boom. A powerful power of living things immediately spread out and quickly polluted the earth. Roar, roar, roar. Dense swarms of contaminated creatures rose from the ground. His eyes turned towards the towering trees in the distance. That is the only uncontaminated area in this forbidden area. Guyan has already seen that this giant tree is the embodiment of the forbidden power of this forbidden land. As long as you devour this tree, you will be able to perfectly master the power of living things. If they want to devour it, they need to break through the life restriction formed by the power of living beings surrounding the big tree area. It would naturally not work with Guyan as before. But ever since the forbidden area has been continuously swallowed up, Guyan's life force has far surpassed the life tree. So he slowly raised his hand and pointed forward. A hint of indifference in his eyes, and shouted in a low voice. Break. Boom. A moment. Ein's helpless black giant hands pulled out from the ground. Hissing. Like poisonous snakes, they rushed towards the restriction of living power. In addition, countless polluted creatures also obeyed the command and rushed towards the life restriction without hesitation. Boom boom boom. Puff, puff. A contaminated creature rushed towards the smooth restriction and was burned into a pool of black blood in an instant. However, the black blood attached to the restriction aura, constantly contaminating and corrupting the restriction. At the same time, inside the big tree, there is also a small world here. But at this moment, this world was on the verge of collapse. Boom boom boom. Countless dark green ghostly aura centered this place. A white army was also among them. He had already finished the treatment here. When he sensed this aura, he immediately sat up and said, "Oh no, the monster outside is about to break in." These days, he has known that forbidden area tree is being devoured by the giant hand extending from the dark clouds outside. What should I do? Are we going to die? Mom, I'm so scared. This world is within the body of the tree of life. And all living things here are favored by the tree of life. So they all have some characteristics of monsters to a greater or lesser extent. This is called half-demon in the outside world. Brush. At this time, a ray of light appeared. This was followed by a weak cough. Kids go. I can't hold on any longer. I already know who the evil demon from the outside world is. The Night King broke in here. Run. I will use my last bit of strength to teleport you to the secular world. And you can use your own power to conceal your true appearance and survive. Stay alive, kids. Everyone looked towards the ancient tree trunk in the middle of the small world. I saw that a person with facial features similar to a human figure appeared on what should have been an ordinary tree. However, everyone could sense each other's fatigue from that. When Bae Jun heard this, his face changed. He clenched his fists. Night King? The Night King is here? The rest of the people also rushed to the bottom of the tree trunk. Grandpa Tree. Grandpa Tree. We're not leaving. We can't leave you behind. Everyone shouted with sobs. Each of them died once, and they survived only by relying on the tree of life. The tree of life sighed softly. It exerted its last bit of strength. Swish, swish, swish. Countless vines stretched out and directly bound the living creatures here. Waves of light appeared. This was the power of space teleportation. Grandpa Tree. Woo! Sudden. Boom. There was a loud noise. The breath of the tree of life became weaker, and he said weakly, "Go, I can only let 10 more people leave with my strength. If you don't leave, you will have to stay with me, an old man." The words fell. A white army immediately looked at the number of vines that appeared. Suddenly his eyes were stunned. Because there's one missing. As for John Noroyu, her expression became very complicated when she heard this. The Night King actually came to the forbidden area? It turns out that those giant black hands were created by the Night King? Thinking of this, John Noroyu gradually clenched her fists. She looked at Ba Jun and said with a complicated expression, "Bei Jun, let's go. I am already half demon. Even if I go back, I won't be recognized. But you are different, you are still young and have a bright future. Bei Jun, hurry up. As long as you grab the living vines of Grandpa Tree, you can be teleported back to the secular world." How could Ba Jun agree to this? He grabbed John Noroyu's hand and shouted, "Are you kidding me? I won't leave, let's go together. I have a high position in the department. Even if you are half demons, I will make everyone accept and understand you." John Noroyu was deeply moved when she heard this. She was afraid that the White Army would have some strange views on her current half-human, half-beast appearance. But now I see. But, precisely because of this, John Noroyu must keep Ba Jun alive. Hush! A vine appeared in front of the two. John Noroyu, hurry! Hurry and pinch the vines. Ba Jun immediately looked at John Noroyu. But the latter just shook her head and said softly, "There are not enough vines for everyone to leave. Besides, I'm already dead. So, brush." John Noroyu flapped her wings and slowly left the ground. She slapped her wings lightly forward and the vines wrapped around Ba Jun. "What, John Noroyu?" Ba Jun was stunned and shouted in disbelief towards John Noroyu, who was flying high into the sky. The Tree of Life also shouted weakly at this moment, "Little friend Ba, I can only hold on for a minute at most. I want to entrust these children to you. Friend Ba. Protect them, don't let them be caught by the department." However, as soon as the words fell, bang, crack, a horrifying tearing sound came from the sky. Half of the body of the Tree of Life withered instantly. And he murmured in disbelief, "What?" The band was actually broken. Immediately following, a strange, overlapping sound, as if coming from the abyss, came from all directions. 1 minute. Ridiculous. You don't even have a moment to breathe. The words fell. Everyone saw a scene that stunned them. The giant trees in the sky were torn apart. The dark cloudy sky outside was revealed. Above the head, there were densely packed black hands hanging. This number makes everyone's scalp tingle. And above the dark clouds, a long-haired figure in a black robe stood there, and everyone couldn't see his face clearly, but he could feel the surging malice coming from the other party. I saw him raise his hand and press down slightly. The voice was cold and indifferent, and said, "I want the power of living beings." The words fell. Boom, boom, boom. It's like a ghost that's taking your life. A huge black hand that covered the sky and land shot down from the sky. Up, puff, puff. Even though he was entangled by vines, it was still too late to move away. Countless blood flowers exploded from all directions. Countless screams echoed in the ears of the White Army. He stood below, raised his head, and stared in a daze at the black-robed figure standing high in the sky above the dark clouds. Is this the one they have always wanted to defeat? The Night King? White Army? A panicked voice suddenly came from the side. Immediately following, puff, snap. Blood splattered on Ba Jun's face and he turned around suddenly. I saw my childhood sweetheart, John Noroyu. From her chest, a black hand extended out. Urgle. White Army. John Noroyu looked at Ba Jun gently, bloodstains dripping from the corners of her mouth. She panted and said the last words intermittently. I love you the most. Bang. The words fell. In front of the Ba Army, John Noroyu instantly turned into a bloody mist. Thump. The White Army fell to their knees in a daze. Everything happened so suddenly that the White Army was unable to recover. But the smell of blood in his nose and the warm feeling on his face kept reminding Ba Jun. John Noroyu is dead. Above the dark clouds. After doing all this, Guyan looked at Ba Jun calmly and said, "Next, it's you." Boom. Its outless black hands pounced towards the White Army as Guyan spoke. The latter turned a blind eye, his brain had become blank. And at this critical moment, little friend Ba, run away. The Tree of Life unleashed its last burst of strength, driving the transfer ray to reach the remaining living beings. In the blink of an eye, the White Army and the few remaining half-demons were teleported away, and the Tree of Life also completely lost its power and had no possibility of resistance anymore. Seeing this scene, Gu Yan did not stop it. He turned his attention to the Tree of Life. He walked down from the sky step by step, and the dark clouds created steps for him according to his steps. Why don't you take action? The Tree of Life looked at Gu Yan, who was gradually approaching, and asked breathlessly. It has discovered that Gu Yan deliberately let several people escape just now. Hearing this, Gu Yan walked up to the other party and slowly said, "Because, I don't want to take action." "No, I don't want to take action." The Tree of Life had no time to savor these words. Next second. Puff, puff. Countless hands pierced into the body of the Tree of Life. The last part of the power of living things was also mastered by Gu Yan. He completely mastered the power of living beings, and also mastered a trace of the power of forbidden lands. Feel the power surging in your body. The corners of Gu Yan's mouth curled up slightly. It was time to go back. Chapter 395. The Two Meet. The 13th Spiritual Dagger. Zhangye City. A month passed quickly. The world has also changed dramatically during this period. Countless people have been tested for their martial arts talents, and those with strong talents have been recruited into the martial arts department. Those with weaker talents will join various folk martial arts forces. Among them, the sword division of the warrior department is well known to many people, because there have been monster invasions in many places in the past month. It seems that the monsters knew that humans were preparing to transform the entire population into warriors, so they came out of the darkness and into the light. The Warrior Alliance has built an underground safe base for this purpose. Once monsters invade, the warriors will evacuate ordinary people. After the invasion of the giant rock golem, the once prosperous center at Zhangye City became dilapidated. Countless tall buildings collapsed and the ground sank. Human homes were destroyed and countless people were forced to live in temporary settlements prepared by the authorities. This kind of change actually made many people unprepared mentally. The initial enthusiasm and excitement for warriors gradually faded away with the continuous invasion of monsters. Everyone realized that the world of warriors is wonderful and magical. But on the other hand, there are countless dangers. But it's okay. The appearance of the sword wielder gives all those who have not yet grown up a chance to breathe. Among them, Leng Qingqiu, the minister of the sword department, was given the title of the strongest human by everyone. Whenever the opponent attacks, it will be a fatal blow every time. No matter what kind of monster it is, it can't withstand Leng Qingqiu's attack. But unfortunately, there are many monsters, but there is only one Minister Leng. However, everyone understands that as long as Minister Leng arrives, no matter what the crisis is, it will be resolved. Even if that person is the Night King. When it comes to Minister Leng Qingqiu, everyone thinks of another person. That person is Gu Yan, the eldest son of the Gu family. Ever since the Gu family's annual meeting, most people have come to know that the Gu family is a family of warriors. And Gu Yan is even a congenital warrior. In addition, the other party controls the largest civilian martial arts force in Zhangye City. Everyone felt that although there was a huge gap between Gu Yan and Leng Qingqiu in terms of cultivation, they were indeed a good match in terms of talent and appearance. However, many people also said that Minister Leng was decisive and ruthless, had an arrogant personality, and was cold to everyone. It was likely that Gu Yan's life at home was not very good. But no one knows the details, because there has been no news about Gu Yan and Leng Qingqiu on the internet for a long time. Even if there was, it was news reports about Leng Qingqiu killing monsters alone. At this time, under the Zhangye Sword Department building, there was a long queue at a talent testing site. In order to protect the safety of the people, each talent monitoring point is set up not far from the sword holding department. Sword bearers were responsible for maintaining order and safety at the scene. Inspection point at the end of the team. Wow, are you the Dragon King Leng Linger on the internet? Rumor has it that you shattered the testing device at the talent test site. And your talent is earth-shattering. You are also Minister Leng's biological sister, the Lord of the Dragon King Palace, Dragon King Leng Linger. It's true, our inspector is actually Leng Linger. Yes, he broke through to the level of an innate warrior in the previous battle. It was truly amazing. Sister Linger, I want you to sign for me. I finally see the real person. Leng Linger, who was already a congenital and dressed in a white swordsman uniform, signed autographs for everyone with a relaxed look on her face. Oh, these are just empty names, come one by one, and don't forget to like and follow my videos later. However, this scene has gone through several rounds. The people behind who had never heard of Leng Linger shouted in dissatisfaction. Hey, do you want to test the ones in front? We have been waiting here for half an hour. That's right, what do you mean by cold and arrogant? Wasn't she just a spirited little sister before? Spirited little sister. Langlinger's expression froze, and she immediately took a breath of cold air. No, don't be angry. Don't be angry, my sister said. I'm an adult now. You can't get angry with them because of this kind of thing. At this time, a light laugh was heard. Little devil, why did you become a slave? Little devil, black slave? I don't want to be here either. My sister is forcing me to show my face here. Who is it? How dare you call me? Langlinger raised her head and was about to see who it was. But he was stunned on the spot. Because the person in front of him had a slightly different temperament, and even his skin seemed to have become a little paler. But she recognized him at a glance and shouted in surprise. Brother-in-law. She jumped up from her seat and looked at Guyan happily. Brother-in-law, you are finally back. Or have you been for the past month? Do you know how much your sister misses you? By the way, has your skin become whiter? And have you become more handsome? Why do you still smell so sweet? Brother-in-law, when you are not at home, I can only eat the food cooked by my sister. Do you understand me? Guyan looked at the noisy Langlinger. He smiled slightly, reached out and rubbed her head. Where's your sister? I'll go find her. Langlinger came back to her senses after hearing this. She pointed to the top of the building behind her and said, Sister is practicing. She is the strongest among humans now. Brother-in-law, you are definitely no match for her. Guyan withdrew his hand upon hearing this, and nodded with a smile. Okay. After saying that, he walked towards the sword department building. A bunch of people who were undergoing talent testing also reacted belatedly. That's Guyan, the eldest son of the Gu family? No, I feel like I've become more handsome than before. Why do you have the evil aura from the novels? Oh my god. I pushed it when I saw it. You push? Yeah, I just became a fan of Mr. Cool. But it is said that Minister Leng should not be disturbed when she is practicing. If you disturb her practice, I am afraid you will suffer some terrible treatment. Well, even if Guyan is Minister Leng's fiancé, I'm afraid. That's right, I'm afraid it will be a domestic violence scene. In the training room on the top floor of the building, Leng Qingqiu was suspended in Midra. The 13th short blade behind him is looming. She is trying to condense the 13th spiritual dagger. It's just a pity. As time went by, the color of the 13th spiritual dagger became lighter and lighter. It seemed as if it would disappear in the next second. All the time spent before will be wasted. Leng Qingqiu was unwilling to give in. Damn, do I have to start all over again? Each time you condense the spiritual short blade, you not only need to transfer mental power, but it also takes a long time. Now, the prototype of the 13th spiritual dagger has finally been condensed. But now do we have to start all over again? That's all. Leng Qingqiu sighed in his heart. I have been mentally unstable these days, which may lead to the failure of condensing the short blade. When you feel better, try again. But speaking of it, the reason why it became like this is all because of that bastard. I tried to contact that bastard, but I couldn't get through to him. He disappeared for a month. What on earth did that guy do? Monsters have been running wild these days. And breakthroughs one after another. Would it be something to do with that bastard? With his confused mind, the 13th spiritual dagger behind Leng Qingqiu was about to dissipate. And right at this moment, a familiar voice came into Leng Qingqiu's ears. Qingqiu, your place is quite spacious. One floor was cleared. Why, is your cultivation very impressive? This sound, this breath, is it Guyan? Leng Qingqiu was stunned. She was delighted and was about to open her eyes. A burning breath appeared in front of her. Ugh. She opened her eyes suddenly and saw the life essence that he could never mistake. Actually kissed him. I was flying in the air, and he actually flew over and kissed me forcefully while I was practicing. Asshole. Can. Buzz. Waves of familiar and numb feeling spread throughout Leng Qingqiu's body. It's like the dry island has absorbed delicious spring water. Leng Qingqiu could intuitively feel the changes in his body. Perception has improved. Leng Qingqiu was stunned for a moment. And then the 13th spiritual short blade that was faintly visible behind her appeared. Now it actually became real in an instant. Boom. A huge mental shock rushed out from the training room from inside to outside. Boom. The entire sword department building was shaking and trembling because of this. Soon, the breath converged and gradually gathered behind Leng Qingqiu. A short blade hovered behind her. The 13th spiritual short blade. Condensed successfully. Chapter 396, The Shaking Building. Inside the practice room, Guyan and Leng Qingqiu slowly fell to the ground from the air. A month of suppressed impulses. Let the two of them be released at this moment. Guyan absorbed Qingqiu's energy. Leng Qingqiu was absorbing Guyan's energy. The two of them complemented each other's shortcomings over the past month. Perception improvement. Pure love value increases. A feeling of comfort and security filled the two of them. If it weren't for the plan, Guyan really hoped to spend days and nights like this with Lang Qingqiu, but unfortunately reality does not allow it. Lang Qingqiu found that the speed of his perception improvement was gradually slowing down and the numb feeling disappeared. She came to her senses and suddenly opened her eyes. Strike forward, bang! She slapped Guyan on the chest. Being beaten by the object of pure love. Pure love value 500. Guyan immediately let go and retreated to half kneel on the ground. He covered his chest in pain, pulled the corner of his mouth, and looked up at Lang Qingqiu helplessly. No way, Qingqiu. You have to use so much force? Haven't we seen each other for a long time? No, let's not talk about the fact that I would lose all my cultivation in front of Lang Qingqiu. Could you please stop giving me hints about everything? This broken system of yours. How come this beating has pure love value? Do you mean to say that beating is love or scolding is love? Just thought of this. Lang Qingqiu wiped the corner of his mouth. His expression was ashamed and angry, and he cursed in a cold voice. You bastard, shameless rapist. Being insulted by the object of pure love. Pure love value 1000. Guyan. He took a deep breath, tried to stand up and then shouted, Qingqiu, what do you mean by that? How am I a bastard? How am I shameless? I was practicing. But you attacked me right away. Lang Qingqiu couldn't utter such a dirty word, so she could only curse in shame and anger. A sneak attack? I am clearly sending my love to you, Qingqiu. Guyan patted his chest. His injuries had healed. He walked forward with a smile and took Lang Qingqiu's hand. Qingqiu, my dear Qingqiu, don't you miss me? I'm just so excited to see you. Or after you became the head of the sword department, you began to dislike me, your husband. A husband who shares the hardships of life. How come all kinds of nonsense can come out of this bastard's mouth? Lang Qingqiu immediately shook off Guyan's hand in anger and snorted. It's still unclear who dislikes who. Guyan moved closer and wanted to hold the other person's hand again, but Lang Qingqiu dodged him. Guyan understood what Lang Qingqiu meant, so he deliberately asked, Qingqiu, what do you mean by this? Oh, you know it clearly in your heart. Lang Qingqiu clenched his fists and said coldly, I haven't been home for a month, and there is no news from you. We approached the civilian warrior forces of your Gu family, but it turned out that only a woman named Luoya was in charge. It was as if you had disappeared from the face of the earth. You're still saying that you're avoiding me because you don't dislike me. As soon as these words came out, Guyan sighed softly and said sincerely, there is a special reason for this, I'll tell you later. In addition, Qingqiu, my love for you is evident to all. Even if you don't believe me, you can. Shut up, I don't want to hear your explanation. Qingqiu, I was wrong. Oh, what's wrong with you? My mistake was not coming back to see you for a month. Leaving you alone and crying in loneliness for a month. When Lang Qingqiu heard this, she didn't know what key words were mentioned. She was so angry that her whole body was shaking. She looked at Guyan's light source with shame and anger, and the spiritual short blade suddenly appeared behind her. She held a handful of fingers and pointed at Guyan's stinky face. Who is crying secretly? Who is lonely? Guyan, don't talk nonsense. Even if you die outside, I, Lang Qingqiu, will not shed a single tear for you. Flirting with the minister of the sword department. Do you know how serious this crime is? Believe it or not, I will execute you right here and now. Seeing this, Guyan raised his hands and said with a smile, Okay, Qingqiu, it's actually me who is lonely every day when I'm outside. I look up at the moon and think of you who are alone at home. Every time I think about you not being by my side, my tears just keep flowing. I was wrong, Qingqiu. If you're still not satisfied, just execute me right here. After saying that, Guyan opened his arms, looking ready to accept any punishment. You shameless bastard. Lang Qingqiu couldn't help but get angry and curse when he saw this scene, and the situation was at a stalemate for a while. 1 second passed. 2 seconds passed. 3 seconds passed. Lang Qingqiu pursed her lips slightly, dissipating the dagger of her spirit. She put her hand down, turned around, took a deep breath and said calmly, Go. I still have a lot of things to do here. The ancient martial arts world is constantly at odds, and the secular world is also troubled by the invasion of monsters. Countless people have been displaced, especially the No. 3 Forbidden Area, which has suddenly produced abnormal energy fluctuations in recent days. Until now, it has also been enveloped by a dark forbidden magic circle. We suspect the monster riot is due to the Forbidden Area. Guyan, I have a lot of things to do here, and I have a meeting this afternoon. If you have nothing else to do, please leave. Lang Qingqiu had more or less guessed where Guyan had gone this month. In the Forbidden Area No. 3. There was a fluctuation of power that Lang Qingqiu was extremely familiar with. That is the power of the night. Although Lang Qingqiu didn't know what Guyan did in the Forbidden Area, He must have gained something after spending a month there. The monster invasion and riot also began this month. Ling Qingqiu absolutely didn't believe it when she was told that it had nothing to do with Guyan. Now Guyan is taking a completely different path to help her get revenge. Ling Qingqiu noticed that when Guyan held her hand just now, she clearly felt the temperature had dropped. However, Guyan's current appearance is no different from before, which makes Ling Qingqiu feel relieved. However, Ling Qingqiu was also worried that Guyan would become like herself back then. If that were the case, Ling Qingqiu didn't know what to do. She was very scared, afraid that Guyan was not simply trying to help her get revenge. It is very likely that the other party has other ideas of utilizing the power of night. If I expose this relationship, then will Guyan leave her? Ling Qingqiu was very afraid of this. This is also the reason why she chose not to reveal her true feelings. She felt that she would rather maintain this possibly false relationship with Guyan. She was also unwilling to reveal her true colors and let Guyan leave her. Besides, isn't Guyan acting normal now? So it should be fine. Guyan must have many plans to deploy, and I shouldn't force him to stay. However, Qingqiu, when did you develop the illusion that I would leave if you asked me to? Guyan's helpless voice came over. Immediately afterwards, Ling Qingqiu felt a dirty hand wrapped around her waist. A warm breath greeted me. Guyan put his arms around Ling Qingqiu's waist and pressed her in his arms. You bastard, let me go, this is the sword division. Ling Qingqiu was stunned, then her face turned red. She couldn't keep a calm expression because Guyan's breath made her heart flutter. She wanted to push Guyan away, but the latter grabbed her wrist. The other person put his wrist to his nose and sniffed deeply. The scent of this little hand is still so fragrant. Ling Qingqiu's face suddenly turned red. The numbness in her wrist and Guyan's shameless remarks made her mind go blank. Then, Guyan lowered his head, leaned close to Ling Qingqiu's ear and chuckled. The minister is so powerful that he really wants to let me go. It seems that after not seeing you for a month, you have integrated into the system. Minister. So now, I did something beyond my status in your private training room. I wonder how you, Qingqiu, as the head of the sword department, will treat me. Speak up, minister. Listening to Guyan calling him minister left and right, especially when she said this place was her practice room. Ling Qingqiu's heart was beating at a terrifying frequency. But at the same time, she actually felt a surge of increased perception. Why would I increase my perception at this time? Because you have listened to Lu Ding's words and his abnormal actions. You have already. Shut up, I don't admit it. Ling Qingqiu scolded in his mind. She pushed Guyan away with all her strength. Get out of here. Thump. Ouch. Guyan lost all his cultivation and fell to the ground. You damn you. Ling Qingqiu had a gloomy expression on his face. And he walked towards Guyan, who was crawling on the ground step by step, holding the spiritual blade in his hand. The latter crawled on the ground in a dark and twisted state in pain. Oh no, it's too bad. I won't be killed immediately by the furious Qingqiu. Right? No, it's not time for me to die yet. Next second. No more climbing. Ling Qingqiu scolded tenderly, then took a step forward. Bang! Ling Qingqiu stepped on Guyan's chest with his right foot in Martin boots, making him unable to move. The latter wailed in pain. Then Ling Qingqiu moved his fingertips. Buzz! Guyan's body began to float uncontrollably. Qingqiu? The next second, Guyan was grabbed by a spiritual force and thrown towards the wall of the training room. Bang! Immediately following. Rub. Several short blades appeared at the same time and flew towards Guyan and stabbed him. But the spiritual blade pierced the corners of Guyan's clothes. The clothes nailed Guyan's body firmly to the wall. This forced Guyan's body to be trapped on the wall. Step. Ling Qingqiu walked over with a cold expression. Just when Guyan thought he was going to be cut into pieces, an unexpected scene happened to him. Ling Qingqiu patted Guyan's face with one hand. She pursed her lips and said in a trembling voice, "Since you want to provoke me so much, then you have to hold on." The words fell under Guyan's confused gaze. Ling Qingqiu stretched out his other hand, grabbed Guyan's collar and pulled him forward. Guyan's pupils shrank. The lips meet. Ling Qingqiu violently demanded everything from Guyan. The latter was about to breathe, but Ling Qingqiu noticed it and waved his hand slightly. Buzz! Mental power blocked Guyan's airway. Guyan! Boo! Ling Qingqiu let go of Guyan. She panted slightly and said in a trembling voice, "Since you want to provoke me, then be prepared to faint." Wait, Qingqiu, wait. As soon as the words fell, Guyan was blocked from speaking again. In an instant, a feeling of ecstasy appeared in Guyan's heart. I have so much cultivation. Boom! A powerful air current surged out from this place, causing the building to tremble continuously. outside world. Everyone who was undergoing talent testing sighed. But such a big commotion. It must be that the minister has made a breakthrough in his cultivation. That's right, didn't young Master Gu go upstairs? The noise might be because young Master Gu disturbed the minister. So he got angry. Hey, that makes sense, maybe he's teaching Master Gu a lesson. Oh, it's just a domestic violence scene. Linglinger suddenly looked up. She looked at the shaking building. What's going on? Why did my NIU radar suddenly go off? This feeling. Yes. Linglinger was shocked her brother-in-law was being intimate with her sister again. In the sword department building? So bold. I really want to go and see. Of course, no one could guess what Gu Yan had experienced today. Chapter 397 Kinkyu, if you call me, I will leave. The warm evening sun hit Gu Yan's face. He opened his eyes blankly. I found myself lying on a sofa. Ah, it's a familiar scene. Kinkyu has confused me again. Gu Yan sighed softly. First, he is the fake Night King. Secondly, he is the king of the underworld. Finally, what about my cultivation? Are you awake? Don't lie down if you wake up. Pack up and leave. I have nothing to do with you anymore. An indifferent voice came from the side. Gu Yan stood up and looked. Just see. The normal version of Leng Kinkyu, who has returned to normal, sits on the sofa beside him. Her expression was calm and her tone was indifferent. Feeling Gu Yan's indifference, she couldn't help feeling a little nervous. Damn, I accidentally used too much force and knocked Gu Yan unconscious again. But it doesn't matter, generally speaking, people won't remember what happened before after they faint. So at this time, as long as I remain calm then. However, just thought of this. Gu Yan's resentful voice came over. Kinkyu, you are too much. Just see. Gu Yan huddled on the sofa with a pitiful look on his face. His body trembling. I just came here to meet you and chat. But you treated me like this. Playing with my body like this. You. Leng Kinkyu's concentration broke down instantly. Her face turned red, and she couldn't help but clench her teeth. She was shocked. No, how can you, a guy with multiple identities, secretly act so weak in front of her? Are you a little girl who has been done bad things to by bad guys? No, doesn't this mean that I am the bad guy? Bah, it was obviously Gu Yan who provoked me first. Yes, I was absolutely right. It's all Gu Yan's fault. He has the problem. Shut up. Thinking of this, Leng Kinkyu stood up. And with a look of shame and anger, she grabbed Gu Yan's arm and dragged him out. Get up, stop sticking to my sofa. This is my office. I have the right to kick you out. Of course Gu Yan wouldn't leave, as he had finally made it back. I must continue to love and affection with Leng Kinkyu for a while. So one of his hands was grabbed by Leng Kinkyu, and the other hand was pulling the sofa. Shouting loudly, hiss, Kinkyu, I won't leave. You played with my heart and want to drive me away. Is this how you, the sword master, act? Aren't you going to take responsibility for me? In GGG Huth. The words haven't finished yet. Leng Kinkyu let go of Gu Yan in shame and anger, and then reached out to cover his mouth while covering it. She looked outside. Shut up, don't be so loud, it will be a disaster if someone hears it. She looked ashamed. She was the aloof and cool director of the sword department. If her subordinates knew that she had done such a shameful thing with Gu Yan in the office, I'm afraid her reputation is ruined. After each time you kill a monster, maybe someone will talk about you behind your back. Look, this is the one who forced Min An. Hey, she forced Min An. In broad daylight, the head of the sword department turned out to be such a person. Stop talking, you are all wrong, I didn't force Gu Yan. We are in a relationship, how can there be any force? Leng Kinkyu's mind was in a mess because she hadn't been intimate with Gu Yan for a long time. And she started to have wild thoughts. Gu Yan's mouth was covered by Leng Kinkyu, and his nostrils were filled with the fragrance of the other's hands. Hiss, the autumn is so fragrant. He couldn't help but stick out his tongue and suck. Ah! Leng Kinkyu noticed something strange in the palm of his hand and was so frightened that he retracted his hand. Hey, you're scared, right? Gu Yan smiled as if he had won victory. This bad guy. It's hard, the fist is hard. Listening to the arrogant laughter in my ears, Leng Kinkyu was shaking with anger. She clenched her fists but quickly relaxed them. No, calm down, Leng Kinkyu. If you continue to be angry, you might fall into Gu Yan's trap. The angrier you get at this bastard, the more he'll like to mess with you. That being the case, thus show the professional qualities that a swordsman should have. Think of this. Leng Kinkyu took a deep breath and calmed down immediately. She said to Gu Yan calmly, what do you want me to do to leave? I really have something to do. Actually, it's okay. The main thing is to digest the strength gained after being intimate with Gu Yan. Hearing this, Gu Yan nodded as if he understood. He stood up. patted his clothes, nodded in understanding and said, "Since King Qiyu said so, then I won't be polite, King Qiyu. As long as you fulfill one small request of mine, Gu, will leave immediately." Si Guyan returned to normal. Ling King Qiyu also breathed a sigh of relief, so she relaxed, crossed her arms over her chest and nodded, saying, "Okay, as long as it's something I can do, just ask." Hearing this, Guyan took a deep breath, then took a step forward and said seriously, "Okay, if that's the case, I'll just say it straight. Please, King Qiyu, say goodbye to your husband in a gentle and soft tone." Ling King Qiyu. "Goodbye, husband? This bastard." A visible blush covered Ling King Qiyu's face, and she yelled in shame and anger, "Get out of here. Hey, stop, King Qiyu, I was wrong, I will leave right now. Don't hit me." Bang! Click! The door closed, a crack appeared in the wall, and Guyan was driven out. He rubbed his head in distress. Oh, it still doesn't work. This time he didn't absorb enough King Qiyu energy. This amount of energy is only enough for him to last for half a month. Right? Never mind, just half a month is half a month. It will pass if you just endure it. Suddenly, he sensed a familiar breath. This Ori is Lin Yin is here too? And is she coming this way? Right, go see her. And when Gu Yan was about to leave, flick, the door of Ling King Qiyu's office suddenly opened again. Before Gu Yan could react, a very quiet and shy trembling sound reached Gu Yan's ears. "I'll be goodbye." Gu Yan shuddered all over. He turned around suddenly and saw Ling King Qiyu standing behind the door, clinging to it with a ruddy face. The King Qiyu energy in Gu Yan's body was instantly accumulated. Ling King Qiyu also felt Gu Yan's shock. She said this to Gu Yan just because she was impulsive. "It's okay, compensation is just my compensation to Gu Yan. After all, I knocked Gu Yan unconscious, it's just a remark. It doesn't matter." Gu Yan swallowed and looked at Ling King Qiyu in disbelief. King Qiyu, what did you just say?" Although he heard it, he still wanted to hear it again. "Nothing, just forget it if you didn't hear it." Ling King Qiyu had already made very complicated mental preparations after saying those 4 words. But I didn't expect that Gu Yan actually wanted to listen. What a willful fellow. "Stop it, King Qiyu, I promise. Just once, just the last time. Please, just say it to me quietly." Gu Yan leaned against the door, looking very curious. "You?" Ling King Qiyu pursed her lips slightly. "The other party really wants to hear this? It's shameful though. But since it's rare for the other person to come back, shouldn't I fulfill his or her little wish?" Sodner Gu Yan's extremely expectant gaze. Ling King Qiyu spoke softly. Xiao Yanzi. Why are you here? Long time no see." Ling King Qiyu. Click. The door slammed shut. Gu Yan was stunned, then knocked on the door in disbelief. "Pa. King Qiyu. Seeing Ling King Qiyu slip away, Gu Yan knocked on the door hard. He felt like crying but had no tears. "No way, is this the end? I haven't heard enough. How can I live without you?" Gu Yan slid down the wall with tears in his eyes and collapsed to the ground. If you don't know, you might think Gu Yan had suffered some major blow. Bang! Lin Yin, who hadn't changed much from before, came over. She patted Gu Yan's shoulder happily and said, "Xiao Yanzi, why are you crying at Sister King Qiyu's door? Boss, you came at a really bad time, forget it, tell me how you got here." Gu Yan adjusted his mentality, quickly got up from the ground, and then looked at Lin Yin helplessly. "Hey there, Xiao Yanzi. I was just about to talk to you, come on, let's talk while we walk." Gu Yan was dragged away. And behind the door, Ling King Qiyu leaned against the door, her hands covering her chest, her face slightly flushed with shyness. But someone came. Chapter 398 Gathering in the Swordsman Department Canteen. Half an hour later. The Sword Department Cafeteria. "So, I became the advisor of the Sword Club." Ling Yin took off the sword medal from her chest and handed it to Gu Yan. Her plate was filled with a lot of candies and sweets. "Oh, so the department's restrictions on you as a leader have been lifted." Gu Yan looked at the medal in his hand thoughtfully. This medal contained a tracking array. Always locate Lin Yin's whereabouts. The other sword wielders' medals did not include this magic circle. "Yeah, they don't care about me anymore." Lin Yin smiled and nodded. Poor child. Gui thought about it and modified the magic circle inside the medal. The medal was then returned to Lin Yin. Now, people in the department can only detect the real-time location that they want to know. This will play a key role in seizing the silver core between Lin Yin's eyebrows in the later stage. Lin Yin took the medal and said with a smile, "Xiao Yanzi. There is one more thing, didn't you give me a lot of candy before? I finished eating, do you have any more?" As she spoke, Lin Yin blinked at Guyan expectantly, after trying so many candies. Your candy is still the most delicious, Xiao Wai Anzi. It's just a matter of a word from the leader. There was a hint of inexplicable meaning in Guyan's eyes. He stretched out his hands and placed them in front of Lin Yin, and said with a smile, "Do you still remember this magic trick? However much you want, I will give you that much." The words fell. Crash! Countless candies fell onto the table from Guyan's palm. Lin Yin was stunned. She held the candies on the table with both hands and said with a cheerful smile, Enough, I can't finish any more. Xiao Huaiyanzi. You are so nice. Oh, as long as the leader likes it. The corners of Guyan's mouth curled up slightly, and his eyes looked vaguely at the center of Lin Yin's eyebrows. Oh, very good. Just a little bit more and the claw cells will completely devour the magic seal that seals the silver core. At that time, Lin Yin's core power will be revealed, and he can also obtain silver true key. In the dark of the cafeteria, a member of the inspection team in black uniform was paying attention to what was happening on Lin Yin's side. He pressed the headset and replied, "It was Guyan. He gave some candy to the anti-demon weapon again. It's the same as before." "No problem." A low voice also came from the headset. "Okay, continue monitoring and report immediately if there are any signs of rampage." "Yes." Time passes. More and more people came to the cafeteria. Soon, there was a commotion coming from the door. "Wow! They are level 3 sword masters. It looks like he's back from a mission. Miss Shangwan is so beautiful. Master Murong, so handsome. And Miss Lian, she's so cute, she's exactly like my dream girl. Master Clivia. And the genius spiritual swordsman Liu Jianxing is here too." Guyan listened to the familiar name echoing in his ears, and he looked up. Just see. A huge team of sword bearers walked in from the door. They were dressed in white uniforms and their aura was above the innate. Looking at these familiar figures. This. Guyan smiled in his heart. Most of these people are former members of the night organization. The Lian really enjoyed being surrounded by this group of fools. "Ale, that's right, that's it. All the stinky men. Wire 2, surrender to my natural beauty." As expected. There is no one in this world who can resist my charm. Except someone who keeps showing up in front of me. As Lian was thinking, she seemed to see something. Her body froze and her expression froze. She immediately took a breath of cold air. "Guyan?" Lian couldn't help but stretch out his hand and shouted in shock. And as Lian spoke, "Brush, brush, brush, brush." All eyes were cast on Guyan who was sitting in the corner. "Guyan?" Murong Si's eyes fixed. "Guyan, long time no see." Changguan Maiyan's expression remained unchanged. She sniffed the air. Guyan smells like his master? Changguan Maiyan suddenly felt a little resentful. "Damn man, the master must be so close to you for a plan." Liu Jianxing also cast his gaze towards Guyan. His expression brightened. "Brother Gu." His friendship with Guyan can be traced back to the time when the Night King invaded Zhangyi last year. The two of them established a deep bond during that battle. It's a pity that he hasn't seen Guyan since everyone became warriors. There are rumors that Guyan is busy with a folk martial arts group in the secular world. But he has never appeared on EV. I didn't expect that I would see him right after returning from a mission. He walked over enthusiastically. "Brother Gu." Murong Si frowned when he saw this. And after pondering for a moment, he followed. "Hey! What are you doing, you blockhead?" The Lian shouted in the team voice chat. With no other options, she had to follow. Changguan Maiyan smiled slightly when she saw this, and whispered to the people around her, "Let's go and meet the man the master is in the secular world." As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the people around suddenly darkened. "Is this that Guyan? Why does he look so familiar? It seems like I've eaten at their tea restaurant in the secular world before." Olivia opened her folding fan and smiled softly. "Oh! This man's cultivation has not improved at all, how ridiculous." After saying that, he walked over. For a while, the long table on Guyan's side was packed with people. This action instantly attracted the attention of everyone in the cafeteria. His SMR Gu is so popular? Yeah, so he and Lord Murong all know each other? Speaking of which, the Gu family is originally an ancient martial arts family. There were rumors before that young Master Gu had spent some time in the Zhangyi warrior department. And he and Liu Jianxing were in the same group of comrades. Really? It's really strange when Guyan came. It seemed like everyone was attracted to him. Yeah, it's a pity that the minister doesn't come to the cafeteria to eat on weekdays. Otherwise, oh else. One of them looked at his companion who had become stiff beside him in confusion. He followed the other person's gaze and looked towards the cafeteria entrance. Suddenly, take a breath of cold air. Just see. Two figures appeared there. One is Ling Linger, who is known as the most talented girl. She broke through to the innate level during a battle against demons and directly reversed the entire battle situation. The other person was shaking his little yellow hair and looking around, as if he was looking for someone. The other one was the head of the sword department, Ling Qiqiu, with eyes closed, a cool temperament and stunning looks. Hello, Minister. Hello, Minister. Minister. Everyone in the cafeteria stood up and shouted respectfully. Ling Qiqiu is now a godlike figure in their sword-wielding department. Everyone had a little fear in addition to respect for each other, because the other party's attacks were fierce, and in front of everyone, they always looked cold and unapproachable. It's very scary, but people have to admire the other party's strength. Oh, brother-in-law is there. Lang Linger saw Gu Yan squeezed in the corner, and then happily took Ling Qiqiu's hand. Sister, let's go over there quickly. Ling Qiqiu nodded slightly. Then he walked towards Gu Yan. The people who were originally sitting near Gu Yan also picked up their plates and quickly made way for their seats. Shangguan Miaoyin and others saw this and immediately made way for him. Minister, grown-ups, I didn't expect that the adults would come to the cafeteria just for this man. It's incredible. Shangguan Miaoyin thought with envy and jealousy in her heart. Immediately following, Ling Qiqiu walked up to Gu Yan. The latter also looked up at the other party. He felt happy in his heart. It must be said that he had long known that Ling Qiqiu would definitely become the central figure on the human side. But I didn't expect it to become so popular so quickly, and it seems to have such a huge influence. 1 second passed. And 2 seconds passed. The cafeteria was silent, and no one dared to disturb Ling Qiqiu while he was doing his work. Everyone speculated whether Ling Qiqiu came to question Gu Yan. After all, the commotion in the building before seemed to be because Gu Yan disturbed Minister Ling's practice. And at the 3rd second, Ling Qiqiu spoke softly, breaking the silence in the cafeteria. I'm hungry. During this, Gu Yan smiled and nodded, saying, okay, can I use the canteen kitchen? Can. Besides, Ling Qiqiu said, reaching out and rubbing the head of Lin Yinyin, who was blinking and not understanding the situation, and said calmly, I want to eat the puffs you made. No problem. I'll do it for you now. Oh, I should do more this time. Gu Yan smiled gently, then stood up and walked towards the kitchen. For a moment, everyone in the cafeteria was stunned. What's happening? The conversation between the two was extremely concise and natural, and Minister Ling's tone was as plain and indifferent as usual. But even so, Ling Qiqiu's words shocked everyone in the cafeteria. Hungry? The minister actually said to a man that she was hungry? Cold goddess, can she get hungry too? A cold goddess. It turns out she needs to eat too. By the way, can these two people communicate normally? This was the first time that everyone saw this side of Ling Qiqiu. The most important thing is, it turns out that our minister and Gu Yan, they are really a couple. Looking at the level of tacit understanding, it seems that they do this quite often. Aren't they both already living together? Shangguan Miaoyin and the others felt that it was not appropriate to stay here for long. So the former coughed lightly and said, since the adults have something to ask Gu Yan, then we will not stay. Everyone sit down. Gu Yan said he would do more. However, Ling Qiqiu spoke lightly. This made Shangguan Miaoyin and other members of the night organization sweat profusely. They nodded and sat down. For a while, the atmosphere here has become tense. Lang Linger sat next to Ling Qiqiu, chattering non-stop. Sister, let me tell you, I haven't eaten the dishes cooked by my brother-in-law for a long time. I must have a good meal today. Enjoy the food. Linger is still a child. Ling Qiqiu smiled helplessly in his heart. You should know. The desserts made by Gu Yan are absolutely amazing. You little brat who doesn't even understand this truth. You are far inferior to your sister. I said. It's time. It's my turn to come out. No hurry, I'll let you out after I finish eating. Chapter 399, Spiritual Food that can increase your cultivation. Time passes. A magical phenomenon occurred in a corner of the sword department cafeteria. That is, all the LV3 sword holders were sitting upright in front of a long dining table. They had serious expressions and sat on pins and needles. Even Bal Yan sat down obediently. They didn't even dare to open the team voice chat. After all, the master would definitely notice the fluctuations in their abilities. So she had no choice but to curse Gu Yan in her heart. Damn it, how dare a mortal cricket cook for my master? How well do you think you can do? The host must have chosen you to cook just to save your face. If the master eats what I cook, he will definitely be so touched that he will touch my head and say, Bal Yan, thank you for your hard work. That's how the script should be. Shangguan Miaoyin also put away the smile on her lips and became extremely serious, because she couldn't figure out what her master meant by this action. Could it be? Shangguan Miaoyin suddenly widened her eyes. and a stream of thoughts flowed into her mind. She understood. First of all, the Gu family has become the largest civilian martial arts force in the entire Zhanghe area, and the master is the minister of the sword department. So the master chooses to order this secular slave in front of everyone, so that everyone can understand who has a higher status. In this way, the master's deterrence can be more prominent, making more people convinced. I see. As expected of the master, Shangguan Mayayan was full of admiration. The master's realm was indeed beyond the reach of others. Mu Rongxi and Liu Ji and Xing sat together. They were old acquaintances and had fought side by side in Forbidden Area No. 5 before. Afterwards, the sword-holding department was established and Liu Ji and Xing also joined the Zhanghe sword-holding department. The two became comrades in arms in public. Liu Ji and Xing didn't know the true identities of Mu Rongxi and the others. But at this moment he saw the silent pressure at the dining table. A lot of people were affected at one time. He lowered his head and sweat appeared on his forehead. It turns out that Brother Gu is really in a relationship with the minister of the sword department. A long time ago, Brother Gu always talked about how great his wife was and how much he loved her. From this perspective, Brother Gu and the minister are a really special couple. However, the atmosphere here is really weird. Minister Lang is usually decisive and has a cold personality. It is hard to imagine that the other person would say to Guyan that he wants to eat the food he cooks. But it be. Liu Ji and Xing clenched his fists and swallowed. Is Minister Lang taking this opportunity to criticize Guyan for his disappearance over the past month? Brother Gu, you are in trouble. However, it's different from what everyone imagined. Lang Qingyu's expression was calm, but he was very impatient inside. Why hasn't this bastard done it yet? Aren't you usually quick to do it? Oh, it must be because there are more people now. It's so annoying. Why did you have to add at the end that you should do more? So I have no choice but to keep Shangguan and the other outsiders here. Forget it, let you all taste my man's cooking skills. You got a bargain. You've had enough. Xiaoling, don't be impatient, I'll let you out after I finish eating. Time passes. Finally, with waves of fragrance wafting over, everyone at the table became nervous. They looked in the direction where the fragrance came from. I was stunned for a moment. Just see. Guyan's fingertips moved slightly. Waves of true energy wrapped around plates flew over. Mu Rongxi's eyes narrowed. You are worthy of such a skillful ability to control your true energy. When Yu Ji and Xing saw Guyan coming, his pressure suddenly dropped. At the same time, he was surprised in his heart. It turns out that Guyan can really cook. Yaoyan sniffed the fragrance in the air, looking surprised. This fragrance, is there something wrong with my nose? In less than a moment, the plates fell onto the table one by one as Guyan skillfully controlled his ki. The table was filled with a wide variety of dishes. Everyone looked at the food on the table and couldn't help swallowing. Wait a minute. This seems a little unexpected. Lian walked behind Ling Qingyu, stretched out his hand and put it on the other's shoulder. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Guyan lowered his head slightly, leaned close to Ling Qingyu's face and smiled. Eat. All of them are your favorites. As he spoke, he looked at everyone and said, don't be polite. Today Qingyu will give you some special treatment. Linglinger had long been used to it at home. She unceremoniously picked up a large chicken rumstick and said, hey brother-in-law, you are so nice you still remembered that I love fried chicken rumsticks the most. Ling Qingyu picked up the chopsticks and said calmly, let's eat. The words fell. Only then did everyone dare to pick up their chopsticks and start eating carefully. The cuisine is rich, the presentation is exquisite, and the aroma is lingering. But, Biaoyan picked up a piece of vegetable at random and put it into her mouth. She sneered in her heart, what does it matter if it looks good? If it doesn't taste good? Thinking and thinking. Biaoyan's breathing stagnated and her pupils shrank. The wonderful taste that is hard to describe in words filled her mouth. What is happening? This taste. Yes. This taste. How can it be so amazing? Brother Gu, your dish is really great. Liu Ji and Xing could tell from the presentation that Guyan's cooking skills must be good. But he didn't expect it to be so delicious. Minister Lang, do you usually eat so good? Mu Rongxi tasted the goose liver in his mouth and nodded in praise. A goose liver is slowly fried at low temperature. Golden on the outside and tender on the inside, it is paired with slightly sour blackcurrant sauce and sweet figs, forming a perfect balance of taste. Guyan, your level has reached the level of a state banquet chef. It's just that I've never seen foie gras of this quality. I wonder where you got it from, Guyan. Is it that mysterious? Shangguan Mayayan looked confused. She picked up a cold dish and put it into her mouth. Suddenly, a sense of vitality as if she was in nature filled Shangguan Mayayan's heart. And more importantly, my cultivation has actually increased a little? Shangguan Mayayan exclaimed. The others also felt it. Although the improvement is small, it is indeed an improvement. Oh my god, this is no longer an ordinary dish. It is a spiritual food that can improve my cultivation. Everyone looked at Gu Yan in shock. This person actually knows how to make spiritual food. Ling Qingqiu ate the food in small bites without distraction. It still tastes the same. It's been a month, and I finally got to taste it again. Gu Yan looked at the surprised crowd. He cut a steak for Ling Qingqiu and explained to them. Because the ingredients I use are all containing true qi. For example, goose liver is a variant of a monster that our Gu family has artificially cultivated. We will call it a part of the body of a spiritual beast for now. As for the vegetables, they are edible spiritual plants that our Gu family transplanted from the forbidden area and cultivated. As he spoke, Gu Yan smiled and said, by the way, the civilian warrior forces under our Gu family will also launch spiritual food that can improve meridians and enhance cultivation. We will also build restaurants of this type, and you can come and support us. We will also promote it to the warrior department so that warriors can enjoy it first. Hear this. All members of the night organization looked at Ling Qingqiu in unison. Seeing that the other person was eating food calmly, they looked back and immediately looked at each other. I see. They understood it all. The purpose of asking Gu Yan to cook was not for anything else, but just to tell them that the Gu family was now able to artificially cultivate spiritual plants and spiritual beasts. This is a breakthrough technology that can once again change the current world situation. And the master's current goal should be to tell them how important Gu Yan is. The next step should be to take away the Gu family. As expected of the master, all members of the night organization were filled with admiration once again. Chapter 400, Everyone is stunned. Xiaoling's favorability increases to 99. Time passes. Everyone eating spiritual food at the table also experienced what it means to have their identity torn apart. I see you want to eat meat, right? Oh, you want some soup, right? It tastes good, right? I made it especially for your taste, Qingqiu. I don't know when Ling Linger had moved away. Gu Yan sat next to Ling Qingqiu, preparing everything for her with a smile. Ling Qingqiu hardly has to do anything herself, her bowl is always full. Moreover, the two of them had a perfect understanding of each other, and Ling Qingqiu only needed one expression and one syllable. Gu Yan understood what the other party meant immediately. Click. Ling Qingqiu put down his bowl and chopsticks. Come and wipe your mouth. Gu Yan took out a wet tissue and wiped the other person's mouth. The two of them seemed to be in another dimension, ignoring the shocked and strange looks from the people around them. It was as if they were enveloped in some rosy atmosphere, and they were not affected at all by the people around them. The chopsticks in Shangguan Maiyan's hand fell on the table. She was stunned. The body gradually began to tremble. Master. The sacrifice the master made to take away the Gu family was really too great. You actually let your husband do this kind of thing for you. I am so envious. Damn it, Gu Yan, don't be so arrogant. The master is doing this just to enslave you better. I believe Bialian must be very angry now. Thinking of this, Shangguan Maiyan looked at Bialian. Hasty. This is delicious. Yeah, this one is also good. It's delicious. Bialian was eating the delicacies on the table like whirlwind. Hey Gu Yan, I admit that I underestimated you. Damn it. Bialian actually surrendered to the enemy. But I won't be affected by this. Shangguan Maiyan picked up the chopsticks again and picked up the food. While chewing, she thought of ways to resist the influence of Gu Yan's delicious food. Okay, on to the main course. Gu Yan saw that Ling Qingqiu had almost finished eating, so he clapped his hands. Swish! All of a sudden, plates flew out, filled with a dazzling array of hot sweets. One of the large puffs fell in front of Ling Qingqiu. A tempting smell of sweets lingered at Ling Qingqiu's nose. She swallowed secretly. That side Eve waited for so long. And I just have to eat one more puff before I can finish the process. Thinking of this, Ling Qingqiu picked up the puff with both hands, then took a bite. Suddenly, the cream from the puff filled Ling Qingqiu's mouth. Ling Qingqiu raised his brows slightly and chewed the large puff in small and steady bites. Everyone was stunned. The master ministers seemed to be very happy. They all looked at Gu Yan, who was sitting next to Ling Qingqiu. This man actually has this ability? Ling Qingqiu seemed to notice that Gu Yan had been busy, so she picked up a small puff with her free hand and handed it to Gu Yan. She said calmly, "You eat to you, the V worked hard." Gu Yan didn't answer. He chuckled and leaned forward to bite the little puff, hesitantly saying, "Then I won't be polite." Ling Qingqiu was satisfied then and started to eat the puffs happily again. And everyone was stunned again. Shangguan Maiyan's breathing stopped suddenly, and the cake in her hand fell into the bowl. His expression froze. The master actually fed that man? Yes. Who called out? Shangguan Maiyan immediately turned her head to see who spoke. Result. And he saw his master's sister Ling Linger. Gu was watching the interaction between Gu Yan and Leng Qingqiu with excitement and a rosy face. She wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth. It's so delicious. Changguan Maiyan slowly put a question mark. Wait, what's going on? Is it possible that my master's sister is so kind to this man? Is there even a feeling that I hope to see the two of them stay like this forever? No, I don't admit it. I absolutely do not recognize this man. He is just a tool used by his master to take away the Gu family. Cricket man, cricket man. Changguan Maiyan was eating the cake that fell into the bowl. And her hands couldn't stop eating. Damn, why is it so delicious? An hour later. There was only a mess left on the dining table. Changguan Maiyan and the others were fed one by one and collapsed in their chairs. Unable to move. Even her lower abdomen was slightly bulging. Because Gu Yan has acquired god-level butler skills. No one knows more about taking care of people than him. During the meal, Gu Yan got to know several members of the night organization. Except Changguan Maiyan, Liao Yan and Mu Rongxi. Also present was a man in ancient costume holding a folding fan and looking elegant. His name was Clivia and he was good at the butterfly transformation technique. There was also a tall and sturdy middle-aged man with a beard that reached his ears, named Xiao Lei, who was good at ancient martial arts. The last one is a half-ORC with a pair of animaliers, named Fang. The opponent is a half-demon born from a monster and a human. However, Gu Yan noticed that the other person was secretly looking at Bian while eating. It seems just like in the original book. The other party likes Bian. Leng Qingqiu left not long ago, citing important matters to attend to. In fact, it was because Xiaoling reminded her in her mind that she had done too many things that were not in line with the image of the Night King during this meeting. If we don't let her out, the people below might find out. Kitchen. Gu Yan was using his true key to wash the dishes. He recalled Leng Qingqiu's appearance while eating in his mind. And the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. Qingqiu looks so calm like this. I like it very much too. Anyway, it's very cute. Why is my wife so cute? He raised a pair of chopsticks and looked around quickly. Seeing that there was no one around, he gently moved forward. These were the chopsticks that Qingqiu had used. If I do this in front of her, I will definitely be called a pervert, so now that no one is around. Buzz, suddenly, a chilly aura appeared. What are you doing? At the same time, a cold voice came. Gu Yan. He shuddered all over. Quickly dropped his chopsticks, and looked behind him. Just see. Leng Qingqiu stood there, with his arms folded across his chest. Looking at Gu Yan who was caught with contempt. Huh? Normal eyes? Xiaoling? Gu Yan directly revealed the other party's identity. Oh, you still remember me? Xiaoling sneered and looked Gu Yan up and down. Then I felt it. I found that Gu Yan was even more deeply infected by the power of night. And what she found strange was Gu Yan's behavior towards Leng Qingqiu. However, is still as perverted as before. How strange. Logically speaking, the other person's temperament will only become colder and colder, until he or she finally doesn't care about anything. How can I love another me so much? Is it possible that he is pretending? Gu Yan hasn't seen Xiaoling for a long time. Hearing this, he smiled softly. Xiaoling, you have helped me so much. I will definitely not forget you. Oh, you're so smooth talking. Is this how you trick my other self? Xiaoling snorted coldly, thinking that Gu Yan really said one thing to one person and another thing to another person. Gu Yan has become accustomed to Xiaoling's sarcasm like this. He shrugged and smiled helplessly. Yes, yes, how come you are the same as Qingqiu? You say this to me. I'm still thinking about you. Speaking of. Under Xiaoling's slightly stunned gaze, Gu Yan's fingertips moved slightly. Buzz. A space crack appeared. A plate with sweets and a cup of milk tea floated out from it. The thing fell on the table beside Xiaoling. After doing all this, Gu Yan looked at Xiaoling and said with a smile, I thought you would definitely come to see me. So I specially left these for you. These are my thanks for helping me so much. After listening to Gu Yan's words, he looked at the sweets left beside him. Xiaoling's mood suddenly became extremely complicated. Gu Yan. However, on the surface, she still said with a cold expression, Narcissism. I'm just here to stop some pervert from doing anything bad with the stuff I'd used on my body. What? Pervert? I'm not perverted. This is just another way of expressing my love for Qingqiu. No one understands me, no one understands me, no one understands me. Love. Doesn't anyone understand what love is? Gu Yan explained righteously. After hearing this, Xiaoling's expression became even gloomier. She stared at Gu Yan for a few seconds, then said coldly, even more perverted. This. Gu Yan covered his chest, feeling very hurt. When Xiaoling saw this, he curled up the corners of his mouth slightly, but quickly concealed it. She said calmly, since I see that you haven't lost your mind, then that's enough. Don't forget your plan. If there is any trouble, you can come find me in the middle of the night. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaoling disappeared. Gu Yan was completely confused. Huh? Just to see if I've lost my mind? What kind of fetish is this? Gu Yan shook his head. He was just about to take away the desserts he had prepared for Xiaoling. But suddenly he was stunned, and then he showed a helpless smile. Just like King Qiyu, he is a very dishonest person. I saw that the plate of desserts and the milk tea had disappeared. And at the same time, the trust of the pure love object has increased to 99. Unlock new memory fragments, please check. The system prompt sound also came. S means that Gu Yan is one step closer to the truth. Chapter 401 New Memory. The work of the sword department is very busy. Not only do they have to detect fluctuations in monsters within their jurisdiction, they also have to be ready to strike out at any time to annihilate any monsters that appear in the city. If the public reports the appearance of a suspected monster, the sword bearer will go to check and confirm it. Ling King Qiyu, ahead of the sword department, took up the lead. There are rumors that Minister Ling works 24 hours a day. Almost no one saw the other sleeping. This situation has lasted for more than a month. Of course, only Gu Yan knew that this was actually because the two personalities in Ling King Qiu's body were taking turns. Why is King Qiu becoming more and more like a black slave? This won't do. How can you harm my King Qiu like this? Who is it that causes monsters to frequently run rampant and invade cities? Well, it's me. Because Gu Yan devoured the power of the living creatures in Forbidden Land. No. 3. He also mastered a part of the power of the Forbidden Land. The monsters seem to have some connection with the power of the Forbidden Land. And Gu Yan already had the identity of the king of the Netherworld. So he can naturally control the monsters and use the power of the Forbidden Land to amplify the monsters. Allowing monsters to invade the city is actually to speed up the merger of the Warrior Alliance and the improvement of various facilities. From this point of view, all the facilities have been well developed. Then next, I should let everyone in the Warrior Department take a holiday. Thinking of this, an idea came to my mind. A force from the Forbidden Land and the Ori of the Clawed Nether King also spread out. A moment. The monster hiding in the dark and waiting for an opportunity instantly concealed its breath and hid itself. After doing all this, Gu Yan smiled slightly. Human potential is enormous. But you can't push yourself too hard. Only by relaxing in moderation can you achieve healthy development. Currently, his main goal is to continuously devour the Forbidden Land, while spreading the Abyss Annihilation technique in the ancient martial arts world. Until he was able to break the restrictions of the secular world and the ancient martial arts world. Then you will come to a more critical step in your plan. It is monster invasion. Came downstairs to the sword department. Lao Gao, who hadn't been seen for a long time, had been waiting for a long time. Master, long time no see. Lao Gao opened the card or for Gu Yan and briefly reported on the recent situation in the secular world. To put it simply, even Ling King Qiu, the head of the sword department, has become a godlike existence in everyone's mind. She is seen as the hope of mankind. In addition, the Gu family's Light of Hope has officially started operation and absorbed a large number of warriors. Every warrior will accept demon hunting missions transferred from the department and obtain funds. It is said that at the beginning everyone was very excited and felt that they were like the protagonists in the novel, slaying demons and traveling around the world. But after I really saw the monster, these ordinary people who had just become warriors were suddenly awakened. And their previous playful mentality completely disappeared. They all realized that this was reality and if they were killed, they would really die. Gu Yan nodded slightly. The Light of Hope was arranged in an orderly manner by Woya. And winning over the other party was the most accurate decision he had ever made. In addition, Meizu also advanced to become a Grand Master through the transformation of her claw cells. And Yu Xingzu, the genius who was already an enchanting genius in the original novel, also caught up with Meizu and was promoted to a master. But his personality is still a little weird. Finally, Lao Gao mentioned a name that Gu Yan almost forgot. And Master, the Shen family's business went bankrupt because their prescriptions were cracked by other companies. And Shenwaner had no new products, and her market was squeezed. So she was forced to declare bankruptcy. The Shen family was bought back by the other party before. But because Shen Waiter's parents believed the MLN lies, the Shen family was sold off and all the assets were used to buy a bunch of useless MLN junk. Now, Shen Waiter's parents have gone crazy and are in a mental hospital. Although the other party has an innate Purian body, a complex component was detected as long as they practice dual cultivation. The latter's cultivation will be completely lost as a result. Everyone avoids Shenwaner like the snake and scorpion. Shenwaner also left Zhang Hai disappointed. Then, during a monster invasion, Shenwaner was affected and died. Hear this. Gu Yan's mood did not change. He said slowly, I understand we can cancel all surveillance on Shenwaner. Since Shaolin's death, Guyan has not actually stopped monitoring Shenwaner. And now, the story of Shaolin and Shenwaner, the first male and female protagonists in the original novel, can finally come to a perfect end. Guyan closed his eyes and leaned back on the car seat. Let's go back, Lao Gao. Okay, master. Family-oriented. Guyan lay on the big bed for the first time in a long time and opened the system panel. Suddenly a black panel appeared in front of Guyan. This panel has changed a lot since the original one. Because of the continuous operation of the pure love technique, coupled with the loving interaction between him and Leng Qingqiu, this allows the pure love system to be constantly upgraded and updated. So there are many more things. Universe Pure Love System. Host. Guyan. Cultivation, Grand Master. Titles, Shadow King Combat Power increased tenfold in the dark. Nether King Pet Boost, Child of Destiny Pet Boost. Constitution. Universe Pure Love Body emitting and breathing in and out the pure love energy at any time, which has a tempting effect on any living thing. Abilities. Universe Pure Love Level 5, 3 Life Claw Mid-Stage Grand Master. If attached to the host, it will gain the same combat power, and can reach the peak of Mid-Stage Grand Master in the dark. Mirror Flower and Water Moon, a series of derivative skills. Backpack, Memory Foam X1. In addition to the basic panel, there is also an additional Reincarnation World button in the panel. Reincarnation World. Guyan hesitated for a moment and then clicked to check. Suddenly, he was stunned, because the panel is very simple. 1 million. Remaining Reincarnation World times 0. Seeing this, Guyan took a deep breath. His expression was both complicated and sudden. In fact, after combining the memories from the previous few times, he had more or less guessed that he was likely to have been reincarnated in different worlds. It's just that now, the pure love system has confirmed this guess for him. It seems so. The so-called novel world, where I live now, is just a small fragment of the millions of worlds that split out of the vast world in my previous memory. And his purpose in these millions of reincarnations is only one. That is, be with Leng Qingqiu and live happily ever after. Guyan took out the memory bubble and crushed it with a determined look. I am getting closer and closer to the truth, no matter what is behind. Come to me. He has no way out. In this life, he will definitely find true happiness with Leng Qingqiu. And as Guyan crushed the memory bubble, what he didn't realize was a terrifying aura suddenly emanated from the clouds. Brush. A pair of golden eyes without a trace of emotion opened, staring through the sky. He saw Guyan through the Gu family, a sound that no one could hear echoed from all directions. Once again, the established destiny will not change. Millions of reincarnations of effort are ultimately in vain. Swish, the eyes disappeared. During this period, no one in the world could detect this strange abnormal fluctuation. Chapter 402, Century of Divine Punishment, in Memory. Xiaolang. Just like a fish emerging from the water and seeing the first ray of sunlight, Guyan was awakened by a dazzling white light. He slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he did was to check around. He found himself flying on a barren and cracked piece of land, with nothing around him. The air was dry and the sun's extremely scorching rays shone directly down, as if it wanted to turn the entire land into scorched earth. Guyan opened his mouth to say something, but found that his throat was sore and hoarse. He tried hard to sit up, and then he found that he was wearing a thin and worn linen shirt. His body inside the clothes was extremely thin, and he seemed to be only 11 or 12 years old. When was this memory? Was it earlier than the previous universe? He reached for a crutch beside him and used the strength of his legs to push himself up. Because this was in his memory, all his cultivation was gone. At this time, the sound of footsteps came from behind Guyan. However, before Guyan turned around, with a plop, a figure suddenly fell at his feet. Guyan looked down and his eyes suddenly changed. Just see. Lying beside his feet was a man, but his face was dry and cracked as if it had been dried. He had a cloth bag around his waist. After thinking for a moment, Guyan picked up the cloth bag and found a kettle half filled with water in it. He picked up the kettle, opened it and took 2 sips. And as Guyan drank it, a memory about this world flooded into Guyan's mind. After a moment of digestion, Guyan was stunned. It turns out that this world is still the world in my previous memory, but the era has to be pushed back hundreds of thousands of centuries. This era is called the Age of Divine Punishment. Unlike in the past, humans in this century cannot practice cultivation. A previous memory mentioned that the cultivation system in the universe has 5 more systems after breaking through the Grand Master level. It is divided into Lake Grade, Earth Grade, Heaven Grade, Immortal Grade and Divine Grade. And in this century of divine punishment, all creatures born in this world will be favored by heavenly way, gain the power of God and become divine. And they will break through the shackles in advance to become the first grade God. the second grade god, the third grade god, and so on by acquiring faith points. That's how it should be. But, I don't know since when, the human species has been kicked out of the scope of favor from heaven. In other words, all creatures in the age of divine punishment can become gods at birth. But humans have become the abandoned children of the world. The weakest creatures that are at the mercy of others. They are unable to practice cultivation and can only be toyed with by the gods. In addition, due to the huge human population, most gods would choose to keep humans as their believers so that they can absorb their faith. There is no good or bad god, it all depends on personal preference. Because the number of human believers is limited, and the battles between gods will cause fundamental damage to the world. So, all the gods signed a covenant together. Its name is Divine Punishment Agreement. In this world, there are 8 days in a week. During the first 7 days, humans will lead normal lives. On the 8th day, the gods will then bring down divine punishment. And this divine punishment will be determined based on who the god is this time. When divine punishment comes, uninformed humans will only think it is a horrible natural disaster. At this time, the gods appear to save the world. This is how you gain faith. Afterwards, a cycle would occur every 8 days, with different gods releasing divine punishment and saving the world. And currently, Guyan is experiencing the 8th day. The divine punishment brought down by the burning god that has plunged the entire world into purgatory. Back to the present. Guyan looked at the kettle in his hand. He didn't know when the kettle, which was originally half full, became empty. That's not all. Click. The kettle cracked and instantly turned into quicksand in Guyan's palm and fell to the ground. 90 of the world's water evaporated today. It seems to be intentional. So humans evaporate much more slowly than other things. In the world of gods, humans can only be kept in captivity and played with like pigs and dogs. But unfortunately, the me in my memory was not aware of the inhumane agreement between the gods hidden behind this day of divine punishment. He just thought it was a natural disaster or man-made disaster. Memories began to interfere with Guyan's actions. He began to move forward, and with every step he took, Guyan felt as if he was about to fall down. But his memory showed. Keep going forward, and you will reach the safety point that the gods have built for humans with their divine power. Humans in safe spots can safely survive the day of God's punishment. And this safe spot will only be opened on the day of God's punishment. And the opening position is random each time. There were warm clothes, plenty of food and water. Humanity is immensely grateful for this. However, Guyan felt that this safety point was not that simple. After walking for about half an hour, Guyan saw the full picture of the safe point. It's a small village. Walking into the village, Guyan immediately realized that all his fatigue had disappeared. And all his wounds were healed by the gentle waves. And soon, 2 villagers in aqua blue robes walked over, with smiles on their faces that Guyan found extremely weird. A man put his hands together and looked at the thin and pale Guyan with pity. Poor child, what have you been through in the outside world? Come, you are safe now, the gods will bring you warm food and water. As he spoke, he smiled and looked at the woman beside him. Sally, take this child to wash his body, and then change him into our water god cult clothes. Okay. Sally walked up to Guyan, took his hand with a gentle expression, and led him to a place. This is the safe place built by Lord Water God Water God Water God Water God Village. We are all believers of Lord Water God. Don't worry now. With the protection of the Lord of Water, you are safe. Child. Arrived in front of the bathish. Memory no longer interferes with Guyan's actions. Sally smiled at Guyan and said, the bathish is in front. When you are done washing up, pick out a piece of clothing that fits you from the basket. Guyan nodded. Moment. After washing up, Guyan changed into the aqua blue believer's attire. Water god cult. After learning that this world is a scam between gods, Guyan would not believe that any god would be a good god. There was something strange about the safety point. And Guyan didn't believe that this water god had any good intentions. The me in my memory looks like I'm looking forward to the future. Come outside. Sally held a little girl by the hand and greeted Guyan kindly. How are you? It just so happens that the two of you are not too far apart in age. Why don't you get to know each other? It's noon now. We can go eat. Upon hearing this, Guyan turned his gaze to the little girl next to Sally. Suddenly, stunned, the little girl was wearing a light blue religious dress, but the calm expression and a mature look in her eyes that was not what she should have at her age. Seeing Guyan's gaze, the little girl spoke in a cold tone. Hello, my name is Xiaoling. Guyan was stunned for a moment. Little cold? Of course, in the memory, he was forced to look like a dazed idiot. Such a cute girl. Xiaoling's expression remained unchanged. But from Guyan's perspective, the other person's brows seemed to be slightly furrowed. Chapter 403 The Truth One. The dining area is in a spacious hall. Right in front of the hall, there is a statue of a goddess. The goddess's posture is both solemn and gentle, as if she is silently guarding every soul in this place. Although it is just a statue, one can feel that her face is peaceful and her eyes are full of love, which makes people feel a kind of spiritual peace and strength when watching her. There is also a long table in front of the goddess statue. Xiaoling sat there. The rest of the people sat around the long tables at the bottom of the hall. The food was already on the table. Guyan glanced at it and immediately frowned. The food is simple, just a simple bowl of soup, a bowl of rice. A piece of fine meat floats in the broth. The me in my memory has already swallowed, and is becoming a little impatient. The other side. Sally and the man at the entrance of the village stood in front of the goddess statue. They said with holy faces, "Let us thank the water god for his gift. Thank you, Lord Water God, for allowing us to survive the divine punishment day." The words fell. All the people wearing the water god cult uniforms stood up and shouted with reverent expressions, "Praise the water god." In the memory, Guyan also stood up and did the same. Of course, during this time, his eyes were always on a little girl sitting under the statue of the water god. That is a little cold. Although the other party also stood up, his eyes were extremely calm. He didn't even move his mouth. The ceremony ended and lunch began. Guyan also discovered that he could control his body. It seems that from now on, the power of memory will not interfere with his actions. He sat down. A little boy who was about the same age as him came over and said with a smile, "Hello, my name is Li Han. I saw you were peeking at our saint. Right? Saint?" Hearing this, Guyan glanced at the other party and said calmly, "Are you talking about Xiaoling?" "Yes, it's the cold saint." Li Han's eyes were full of admiration. "She is the only one here who was brought here by the Lord Water God himself. He is the only one who can communicate with the water god. And it is because of Saint Ling that we can stay here safely, with meat to eat and water to drink." As he spoke, Li Han seemed to be hungry. So he picked up the spoon and started eating. Guyan withdrew his gaze upon hearing this. He looked at the broth in front of him and scooped up a piece with a spoon and placed it in front of him. His face suddenly changed. With his god-level cooking skills, he recognized what kind of meat it was at first sight. This is actually a piece of human flesh. Anyway, can he eat it? He was about to put down the spoon, but a strange laugh came from behind. "What's wrong? Don't you like to eat?" Hearing this, Guyan glanced behind him and saw Sally and the man stood behind him at some point, with a smile on their faces that seemed very strange to Guyan. They looked at Guyan, not knowing if it was Guyan's illusion, but the smiles on their lips seemed to be gradually disappearing. Guyan looked at the meat in the spoon and sensed his body. What surprised him was that he could still move freely. No interference with the plot? It seems that it will be fine even if I don't eat it. Guyan looked at the man and woman in front of him. The other party's smile slowly disappeared, and Sally also reached out to Guyan. "Bad boy." However, the words were not finished. A cold voice came over. "If you don't want to eat, forget it. Lord Water God said that it is time to start selecting the next divine messenger. Don't waste your time." As soon as these words came out, Sally's arm stiffened, then she withdrew her hand, and the two of them returned to their original smiling state. They looked at Xiaoling under the statue of the water god. If that's the case, then let's get started. They no longer paid attention to Guyan, but retreated to Xiaoling's side. "Messenger of God." Guyan looked at Xiaoling, but the other party didn't look at him. But Guyan felt that the other party must have been protecting him just now. Li Han, who was standing by, had finished eating. He smiled and explained to Guyan, "Newcomer, let me tell you that the selection of the divine messenger is random. Anyone who is chosen will be able to go to the Lorder to enjoy the divine power and become a sub-god. Only our Lord Water God is so kind-hearted that he can allow ordinary people like us to become gods. Look at Sister Sally, she and Brother Li Chuan are sub-gods. They are the gods who manage our safe spot." Hearing this, Guyan looked at Li Han, who was standing aside with envy in his eyes, and said, "Li Chuan? Is that man your brother?" "Yeah, this safe spot was originally called Li Jia Village. When the god's punishment day came, the Lord of Water protected this place. So it became the Water God Village. My brother and sister Sally are husband and wife. So he was chosen by the Water God to be the messenger to manage us. And Saint Ling has been with Lord Water God since the beginning and was arranged to stay in our safe spot. You are so lucky to have found our place." Li Han chattered non-stop, but Guyan remained silent. Weird no matter how you look at it. There is definitely a vicious conspiracy of the Water God behind this. The other side. The ceremony of selecting the messenger of God begins. A ray of light shines above the statue of the Water God. A moment. Boom! The statue slowly extended its finger and pointed at Li Han, who was talking to Guyan. Suddenly, after being stunned for a moment, Li Han became extremely excited. I was chosen. He looked at Li Chuan on the stage happily. "Brother, I am going to become a divine messenger too." Li Chuan smiled and nodded but didn't say anything. The others also applauded and were happy for Li Han. Guyan looked at Xiaoling. He didn't know if it was his illusion, but he always felt that Xiaoling's expression seemed to become a little sad. As I recall, the place where I slept was a thatched house that had been renovated in Lijia village. Guyan was lying on the bed, which was originally where Li Han slept, but now it became his. Messenger of God, God be safe. Weak human. This century of divine punishment is full of crises. And Xiaoling, what is her identity in this era? It is definitely not as simple as the identity of the water god's messenger. Guyan stopped thinking about it. The plot began to interfere, and he closed his eyes. And just the moment you close your eyes, a breath of darkness dragged him into another world. This seems to be what I experienced in my memory. Guyan, the divine power in this place is so strong, especially the statue that has a trace of divine power left by the old woman. The water god, if I can devour it, my strength will surely recover a little. And then I can fulfill your wish? Guyan first looked around and found that he seemed to be standing on a black ocean. It was gray all around. And in front of him was a flying book. On both sides of the book, there was a sharp mouth with fangs grinning. Guyan recognized it at the first sight. This was the evil book in Ling Ink, Yui's hand that could speak and fulfill people's wishes. In my memory, I felt very scared and resisted when I saw this book. No, it sounds so scary. The water god is such a good person. Why do you want to devour his power? After saying this, Zidian became very angry and turned into a book and slapped Guyan on the head, cursing fiercely. Idiot, how many times have I told you? Gods are all bad. In this world, the only guy you can trust is me. Wait until I recover my strength and eat up all those gods. And I can give you whatever you want. Look, you said you wanted to find a safe place to survive. So is the direction I'm pointing you in okay? Guyan in the memory hesitated a little after hearing this, and nodded. Yes, I found it, but Lord Water God built a shelter to save us humans, and gave us food and water. Fool, is that food? I can tell at a glance that it's human flesh mixed with a little bit of divine power. It's a good thing you didn't eat it. If you had, you would have been gradually influenced and bewitched into becoming a believer of the water god. Of course, even if you eat it, I can help you eliminate this power. Looking at Guyan's dull expression, Zidian was so angry that he was spinning in the air. Idiot, how did I end up with an heir like you? Afterwards I will give you the dagger and let you become the Night King to kill all those gods. Can you please stand up for me? I still want to live to see my little love. In the memory, Guyan had been scolded and squatted down, holding his head. Sorry, Master Zidian, but I really can't do it. Kill all the gods or something. Hey, remove the word Sama from Sama God. Zidian flew to Guyan speechless lie and said, forget it. If that's the case, then I'll let you see clearly. There are still 8 days until the day of divine punishment. I will let you see where the meat you eat and the water you drink come from. During this time, you must follow my instructions, and I will take you to see the truth about God. The words fell. Rush. The scene around me began to change rapidly. Fast forward beginning. Guyan, on his part, began to digest what Zidian had said. From this point of view, he was the heir of the cult in the beginning, and the goal of the cult was to devour all the gods. He said that he would give him a dagger in the end and let him become the Night King and kill all the gods. Guyan sorted out his thoughts. In other words, the cult recovered its strength, then summoned the dagger to let Guyan become the Night King. A Night King killed the gods, and the cult then devoured the god's power to become stronger and then fed it back to Guyan. This completes a cycle. At last, the little love that the cult says. Guyan was silent because he thought of his pure love system. This system also has the word love. But it can't be such a coincidence, right? Chapter 400 for the whole truth. The surrounding scenery fast-forwarded at an extremely fast speed. During this period, Guyan once again immersed himself in the contents of his memory. He discovered that once they entered the safe point and ended the day of divine punishment, everyone would be trapped here by a water blue restriction. The entire safe point will disappear on the map tile until the day of God's punishment appears again. What they had to do in the first 7 days was extremely simple, which was to praise the water god every day. Guyan understood that this was to provide faith value to the water god. As for Xiaoling, it is rather strange that she is a saint. She doesn't have to do anything but just stay under the statue of the water god. During this period, Guyan met many people, and each of them had great faith and trust that the water god could lead them off the ground and into the divine realm. Speaking of this, Li Han disappeared after being chosen to be God's messenger. Someone asked Sally, and she just smiled and said that Li Han was heading to the realm of gods. Fast forward to day 6. Xiaoling took the initiative to find Guyan's residence at night. Her expression was cold, but her tone was urgent. On the 8th day of God's punishment, I will send you away. The next god's punishment will be the day of famine brought by the god of famine. By then, I will prepare food for you in advance. Go find another safe place. This place is not safe. In his memory, Gu Yan was a little confused. He just thought Xiaoling was very pretty. Zidian also reminded Gu Yan in his mind. You can't leave. If you leave, how can I consume the divine power? So Xiaoling had no choice but to clench his fists and cursed coldly. Then prepare to die here. Fast forward the scene. On the 7th day, Zidian said the time had come and asked Gu Yan to go and see the so-called truth. With the help of the concealing aura of the cult, Gu Yan easily followed the guidance of the cult and entered a secret room in his memory. Secret room? In the memory, Gu Yan whispered to Zidian in his mind. Master Zidian, is there such a place in this safe place? Don't talk nonsense, just follow and you will know. The Gu Yan in the memory swallowed his saliva. Then he followed quietly. Then, he lay down behind the wall and saw a scene that made him stunned. This place is like a slaughterhouse. Countless pieces of meat were piled on the countertops, tables, the ground and even in the corners. The smell of blood hit me in the face. And this was not what made Gu Yan feel dazed. What he did not expect was that Xiaoling was actually using a carving knife to scrape the flesh on his arm bit by bit. Every time it scraped, Xiaoling bit his teeth tightly to prevent himself from screaming. As the piece of flesh was scraped off, Xiaoling's arm would recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. The piece of meat that fell to the ground would expand and grow rapidly as if it were regenerating. This what is going on? The Gu Yan in the memory just froze in place. Zidian's tone was also somewhat surprised. I felt it was strange at first. But now I feel it. This little girl turns out to be from the Celestial God clan. The Celestial Gods are a race founded by the earliest humans who were favored by the heavens. The strongest of them, the God King, angered the heavenly Tao in order to gain insight into its rules. As a result, the entire race was cursed. Not only will all of them no longer receive favors, they will not have a good ending. Their loved ones, relatives, and friends will all be affected and die one by one. Moreover, the curse of the Celestial Gods is cumulative. Whenever a member of the Celestial Gods dies completely, his curse will be spread to the rest of the clan until the entire Celestial Gods are extinct. But where there is loss, there is gain. The Heavenly God King is very powerful, and he was lucky enough to glimpse a little bit of the Heavenly Tao rules. So as long as the Heavenly God clan still has a little hope of survival in their hearts, then they will be immortal, and rebirth of flesh and blood is also a simple matter. Even if they perish in this life, as long as there is still hope of survival before death, then even after several reincarnations the Heavenly God clan will eventually be resurrected. But the Celestial clan should have been exterminated long ago because of the curse. But I didn't expect that there is still one left. This is too bad. Zidian smacked his lips when he said this, because in this way, the entire curse on the celestial race will be placed on this little girl. She may have to endure an unknown-like rule curse. But this little girl has a strong desire to survive. She gritted her teeth and didn't cry out even when her flesh was cut. Gu Yan, you've seen enough. It's time to withdraw. Tomorrow is the day of divine punishment. This is the ration that the old woman, the water god, prepared for the people of this village. However, no matter what the cult says, the Gu Yan in my memory still looked stunned. He stared blankly at the thin figure who was about his age. That day, he didn't eat the broth, but Xiaoling spoke up to help him. So is this the truth? God, the true face of God, could this be the case? A seed was planted in Gu Yan's heart, and he completely lost all hope and reverence for the gods. Ignoring Zidian's obstruction, Gu Yan walked out. And Xiaoling also saw Gu Yan, who walked into the secret room and witnessed her cutting flesh. The fate between the two was born. The scene began to fast forward. And Gu Yan asked the cult to conjure up the food for the day of divine punishment. The price was 1 day of his life. It was the 8th day of God's punishment. Everyone's food was replaced, and Xiaoling no longer had to cut meat to maintain this false peace. After spending the 8th day peacefully, Xiaoling completely chose to join the same front with Gu Yan. It turns out that she is the last member of the Celestial clan. In order to torture her and satisfy her own perverted desire for torture, a water god, a woman with a bad taste, made Xiaoling a large food tank. Watching humans eating the flesh of the gods, he enjoyed the faith bonus from everyone. In doing so, he was able to gain great satisfaction. Gu Yan made a decision that he would help Xiaoling escape from here and escape from the hands of the water god. However, the power of God can directly lock a person's specific location. It is impossible to succeed with the strength of only 2 people. At this time Zidian jumped out and said that he only needed to recover a little strength to summon the dagger and give it to Gu Yan. Then Gu Yan will be able to gain the power to fight against gods. So, day after day, the two of them hid in the water god's safe point. Every time the 7th day came, Gu Yan would sacrifice 1 day's life to provide food. Finally, half a year later, because the safe point is covered by the power of the water god, Although the quantity is small, it is safe. So the cult finally had enough of the divine power it needed. A dagger named Night was summoned by him. This dagger is a dagger that can kill gods. As time goes by, the scene changes. Finally, when the day of God's punishment came, Guyan broke the statue of the water god and absorbed its divine power. He also killed the two gods' messengers, Sally and Lichuan, and absorbed some of their divine power. A water god sensed something unusual and sent out the god slave puppet that he had once controlled and transformed. These are the victims of God's choice's deception. Guyan killed them one by one, until the water god's clone attacked. The power of Guyan's dagger combined with Xiaoling's power of the God of Heaven jointly killed a clone that was close to the second level of God. Thus the two began their journey to slay gods. Day after day, year after year, the evil scripture can conceal the aura of the two people, so that they will not be discovered by the gods. They also used this opportunity to win over humans who have seen through the true face of gods and build up their own forces. They call themselves God Killers. And as one god after another was surrounded and killed by Guyan and Xiaoling, everyone discovered that, in fact, the humans can also kill gods and improve their combat power. It was like the battle was escalating, and all the gods were killed by their cooperation. Their bodies will be nourished and advanced by a special energy. According to the cult, this is something that was selfishly sealed away by the gods in this world. Aura. Once you become a god, your spiritual energy will turn into divine power. After the death of a god, his godhead is shattered and his divine power is downgraded to spiritual energy, which is dispersed throughout the world and fed back to the people. During this period, Guyan and Xiaoling also developed feelings for each other. But no one broke the window paper. Because the living space for humans is too small and the gods are too powerful. They shouldn't talk about love at this time. Time passes. Another 100 years have passed. The human race's combat power has reached an unprecedented level, able to engage in head-on confrontation with gods. Guyan, who possesses the power of the night, and Xiaoling, who possesses the physique of the gods, have not aged. And Guyan also gradually lost his emotions due to the influence of the dagger. The power of Xiaoling Tian's clan gradually returned. And she even awakened another power. It was a pink power. She didn't know what it was. But since the emergence of this power, the cult has never reappeared. This war was unprecedentedly large. Countless gods fell and countless powerful human beings died. The collision of power and power caused the sun, moon, stars and sky to shatter. The entire surface was shaking in earthquake every minute and every second. The hope of mankind is right before our eyes. In that night, a golden eye ripped open from the sky. Guyan had known about the cult and another existence called love for a long time. Once the two merge, they will be able to threaten the way of heaven and reset the rules. Cult, in fact, was once one with love, but was torn apart and scattered by the way of heaven. The Night King is the only way to find the original power of the cult. By devouring the power of heaven, he restored his own strength and merged with love to become a being that could fight against heaven. But still haven't had time to finish this scene. Just a beam of light falling. The entire human army turned into dust. And that's not all. Even the gods were turned into powder. Wailing and screaming. The power of the gods was completely taken back. It was as if heaven wanted to restart this terrible world and cleared out everyone on the battlefield. But only Guyan and Xiaoling were left. The purpose is just to declare one's own judgment. The ruthless and cold voice filled the air. The sky of the entire world was torn apart. And the earth was gradually turning into dust and disappearing. The curse of the gods will be passed down to you from generation to generation. Leng Qiu. Everyone around you will die. Even if it lasts for 100 years. 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even hundreds of reincarnations. This curse will stay with you. Your existence already indicates that the people around you will die tragically one after another. And you will not have a good end either. This is your fate. This is the punishment you, the gods, receive for trying to spy on the way of heaven. And if another mortal attempts to fight against the power of heaven, you will also be completely destroyed. Heavenly way. One is enough. The ruthless voice reached the ears of Xiaoling and Guyan, who was lying on the ground with his body gradually disintegrating. The golden eyes disappeared and he became arrogant and ruthless. Thinking that everything in the world was under his control, he seemed to want Guyan to die slowly in front of Leng Qiu. This will make Leng Qiu even more desperate and realize that he should not continue to live. The light of the world disappears. All human beings and even gods were annihilated indiscriminately by the way of heaven. This world is like his private property, and the creatures in it are like ants that can be crushed to death at any time. Whether it is human beings or gods, they seem to be dispensable to the way of heaven. Guyan. We lost this era needs to be reset. Xiaoling clenched Guyan's palm with a sad expression. At this time, Guyan's lower body had completely disappeared. But didn't we expect this a long time ago? The fruits of victory are not for us in this life. Guyan pulled out a sad smile from the corner of his mouth. It's just that the reality is more tragic than the prophecy. He stretched out his hand with all his strength. Swish! A cult book appeared. Make a wish, Xiaoling. Guyan's voice gradually became weak and powerless. He slowly placed the evil book in Xiaoling's hand. Destiny can be changed. Whether it's 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes, or 100 lifetimes. I believe that we in the future generations, they will succeed. Make a wish, Xiaoling. This is our only way. As the words fell, Guyan's figure eventually turned into a piece of dust and disappeared in Xiaoling's arms. The latter held the cult tightly. She stood up slowly, and her body began to break down. At this moment, she was the only one left in the world. So you already knew about this situation. We in the future. Xiaoling tightly grasped the evil book and smiled miserably. I could have given up resistance and completely abandoned hope of living. But now I don't want to die anymore. Because Xiaoling looked up at the sky. Her eyes were no longer sad, but full of determination to fight against fate. She gritted her teeth and shouted hoarsely, I make a wish. Let Guyan and I get normal happiness. The words fell. The power of heaven in the evil book is running. Wishes began to come true. But the price was the pink power on Xiaoling's body. From then on, the gears of fate began to turn. Guyan and Xiaoling used the evil power of heaven to forcibly reverse the situation between the two. A path of hope has been paved for this purpose. The pink power in Lin Qingqiu is love. The power of love and evil were originally one. But they were broken up by the way of heaven and scattered throughout the world. Because its complete power can threaten the way of heaven. The God King of the God Clan once glimpsed a trace of the laws of heaven, which was love. With love in your heart, you can create miracles. Love, after many twists and turns, came to Lin Qingqiu. According to the difficulty of the desire. The price required to be with someone cursed by heaven and to obtain true happiness is extremely high. And the love in Lin Qingqiu, which has the same origin as the cult, can pay this price. As Xiaoling's body collapsed, the world turned into nothingness and restarted. Lin Qingqiu and Guyan, on the other hand, entered a closed loop because of the evil rules of heaven. Their souls were preserved by the evil scriptures that also possessed the power of heaven, and entered the cycle of reincarnation. The two were looking for a chance to be happy. 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives, countless reincarnations, countless worlds. Finally, at a critical juncture, Universe Spiral of System appeared. This system that carries the power of heaven was born. His appearance was already planned by Guyan in the first life. Because he had already seen all the endings for himself in Lin Qingqiu in the cult book. It was after reading the ending that he set up protective measures for his future self. To gain happiness with Lin Qingqiu and to fight against the laws of nature. This is the only way and only this way. In the reincarnation of millions of worlds. He had read all the endings, and only the ending of the last world had a glimmer of hope. However, he could only watch but not interfere. What to do depended on how Guyan in the millionth life would handle it in order to grasp that ray of hope. This process will be painful and complicated. Guyan in future generations will experience all the hardships and experiences that he experienced in his previous million lives. Because only in this way can Guyan see clearly the path he wants to take. In the millionth life, I cooperated with the universe's pure love system and the power of the cult. The 2 kinds of power of heaven are added to his body. This is the only chance they have to fight against heaven in all these millions of reincarnations. I don't know how much time has passed. Rush. Following a flash of white light. The surrounding scenes all disappeared, and a pure white space was formed. With silence all around. Guyan opened his eyes, and a thin figure wearing linen clothes appeared in front of him. It's exactly the first life I remembered. The other party smiled and explained. Hello, my millionth self. What you see is a video that I recorded in advance. The fact that you can see me means that your favorability with Lin Qingqiu has increased to 100. My purpose here is to answer some of your questions. First of all, your opponent is not the Nether Clan, nor the gods, but heaven. The only weapons that can fight against the Heavenly Tao are the evil classics and Xiaowei. But you're also the power of the Heavenly Tao. Only the power of the Heavenly Tao can replace the power of the Heavenly Tao. Secondly, the Universe Pure Love System is also a method I have arranged in advance. As you and Lin Qingqiu gradually improve their favorability, you will gain more and more memories. In order to prevent you from forgetting love, I will let you experience it immersively. You shouldn't blame me. Hear this. Guyan understood. No wonder he had to immerse himself in the experience for decades or hundreds of years every time. Feelings are created by you. Or rather my first life self. The other party was still talking, and had already said the last word. In this life, there is a special place where you may meet to Lin Qingqiu with different personalities. Don't be confused, these two are one. It's just that. One of them is a bit special, she is actually sizzle. After the words fell, Gu Yan was stunned. Before he could hear clearly what the recorded video said. So, it's up to you, the me of the millionth life. This is your last chance. Snap. The video was interrupted, and my first life self smiled and waved, disappearing. Gu Yan. No, what did you say afterwards? Hush. Scene change. Gu Yan slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the reality around him. His expression gradually became serious. The enemy is indeed the way of heaven. Ling Qingqiu is from the celestial clan and carries a curse on his entire clan. So he lives a miserable life in every life. So that's how it is. Is everything due to the way of heaven? And my layout of millions of reincarnations finally gave me a glimmer of hope in this life. This vitality is the two forces of heaven. Gu Yan took a deep breath. He understood it all. The truth, one's own enemies. The path one has to take. Right now, he still has something to confirm. He called out in a low voice, Xiao AI classmate. I am here. Host Gu Yan looked at the system which had obviously become more human and sighed softly. That's why I hate you bunch of Riddler scan. You just tell me directly. I understand you are afraid that I don't like Ling Qingqiu in this life and that my plan will go wrong. So you are doing it step by step like this, right? And I can only say that you really underestimate the bond between me and Ling Qingqiu. Speaking of bonds. Gu Yan opened the panel and a hint of doubt flashed across his eyes. Because the favorability between him and his pure love object is only 99. But the memory just now said that I could only see him 100. Never mind. Gu Yan shook his head. He was going to use all means to live a happy life with Ling Qingqiu. Now, it only made him more determined in what he thought. Of course, the most important thing is. Gu Yan waved his right hand. And the dagger lay quietly in his palm. The dagger is a powerful weapon against the heavenly Tao. I didn't want to use it at first. But after seeing this, I have to use it. I must master the full power of the dagger as soon as possible. It just so happens there are still 4 forbidden lands whose powers have not been devoured. This should help him better master the power of night. The break is over. It's time to take action again. This is the last chance, the glimmer of hope, I must seize it. Chapter 405, 5 Forbidden Land Powers, Gods Are Watching. 3 days later. Monsters from all over the world stopped invading. And the Warrior Alliance was surprised by this phenomenon. However, they immediately seized the opportunity and began to promote the martial arts transformation of the entire population in an orderly manner. At this time, Western country. The one forbidden area was covered with dark clouds and thunder rumbled. Night King, you deserve to die. Can you afford the consequences of stealing the power of the Forbidden Land? A roar echoed in the dark forbidden area. The voice was filled with anger and fear. A giant demon, who was supposed to be the Lord of Forbidden Land one and had a huge body, was now kneeling on one knee on the ground, looking at the black figure in the sky with an unwilling expression. The entire surface was covered with piercing black palms. Gu Yan stood quietly in the air, his figure looking even more eerie in the dim light. He was dressed in a black robe, exuding a dark and ghostly aura. Noisy. Seeing that the thing on the ground was still struggling, Gu Yan just raised one hand and waved it gently. Boom. Ugh. An invisible force suddenly erupted, and the giant demon was instantly blown thousands of meters away, then fell heavily to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. A giant demon struggled to stand up, but was unable to withstand Gu Yan's unparalleled pressure. The Night King. The giant demon panted, his eyes revealing deep despair. You will harm the whole world, you. The words haven't finished yet. A beam of black light shot towards the giant demon. Phew! With a scream, the giant demon below was instantly crushed into a bloody mist. And with the death of the Lord of the Forbidden Land, a ball of light filled with a chaotic atmosphere slowly emerged from the center of the forbidden area. Gu Yan raised his hand. The object flew towards his palm. The last one, the power of destruction. Gu Yan grasped the ball of chaotic light and absorbed it into his body. At this point, the power of the 5 forbidden areas was all used by Gu Yan. The power of destruction, the power of destruction, the power of elements, the power of control, and the power of time. With the initial beginning of the power of living things, and Gu Yan's unscrupulous use of the power of night. Just 3 days. The remaining 4 forces were also completely absorbed by Gu Yan. And when the 5 forbidden powers were absorbed, the system prompt sound also came afterwards. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the ability of Lord of the Forbidden Land. Effect, you can create forbidden lands at will, and use existing souls and the power of forbidden lands to create monsters. With the influence of the Turbidare in the Forbidden Land, the monsters will gradually upgrade, become stronger, and multiply. Buzz buzz buzz. Gu Yan opened his palms, and the 5 forbidden forces rotated and merged in his palms. and finally were all swallowed and assimilated by the power of night. A new force emerged. These powers are like the original puzzle pieces of the dagger. Wu Yan, on the other hand, was looking for these puzzle pieces in order to restore the full power of the dagger. After doing all this, his figure disappeared from the place in an instant. Because he was going to find someone to get something. Only in this way can you ensure that you can cope with what happens next. As the power of the Forbidden Land was absorbed, the dagger's ability was gradually restored in a mysterious space. 7 figures surrounded a scaled-down planet. Around them, there are countless broken pieces of planets floating. They had their eyes closed, but suddenly they seemed to sense something. Then they opened their eyes one after another. Unlike the eyes of normal creatures, their eyes have no whites, only gold. Has it come to this again? I feel like part of my power has been taken away. A being with a steady voice, whose body seemed to be woven from countless twinkling starlight, flowing with the magnificent sight of the Milky Way. His hair is like the brightest stars in the night sky, long and wavy, and every strand contains the mystery of life. Xiao Chang, this is the only way to maintain balance. The form of the other being is harmonious and symmetrical, with its arms spread out like the 2 ends of a scale. His skin is a constant shade of gray, symbolizing neutrality and impartiality. There is always a faint smile on his serene face, and he bestows equal favor on all things in the universe. An evil creature has been born. It is time for us believers to annihilate the evil. Observation 5 believers are still alive. This being spoke in a calm tone, as if it could peek into the knowledge of all times. His hair is long and straight, with a bookish bronze color, and every strand seems to contain endless stories and truths. Let me personally take action, and deal with the opponent as soon as possible, and put an end to this boring farce. The speaking being has a majestic figure and strong muscle lines. His skin is painted with totems of war, interwoven like lines of flame. Oh, that's not right. This world is just a small fragment of the universe. If you go there in your real body, this world will be destroyed in an instant. The consequences we will have to bear at that time will not be something you and I can bear. The master is asleep, so we should protect this last piece of pure land. Another being spoke. He seemed to be the embodiment of life, with a light body that seemed able to merge into nature at any time. His skin was the color of the earth, and his hair cascaded down like a waterfall, with dewdrops and flower petals gleaming in the strands. Don't worry, I have seen through the fate of the 2 people with the power given by the master. At this time, a being who covered his left eye with his left hand and opened only his right eye smiled softly. He has an unpredictable temperament, and his appearance sometimes looks young and sometimes reveals an ancient and vicissitudes of life. His attire is simple and mysterious, and the golden light in his eyes is the only constant, like the starlight of divination, guiding the direction of life. Fate? The fate of these 2 people is death? The last being had a complexion as pale as that of the dead, but exuded a solemn beauty that transcended life and death. His hair was the dark color of the night sky, flowing so lightly that it seemed as if it could dissipate into nothingness even if touched. It is worse than death, eternal torture. Send 5 followers to deal with the mortal in this life. The unrecognized one borrowed the power of the Night King, and his fate has already been determined. His ridiculous hope is useless in front of us gods, while the master is asleep. Let us put an end to this farce. That evening, ancient martial arts world. The 5 strongest men in the ancient martial arts world, who were guarding the prohibition connecting the ancient martial arts world and the secular world, suddenly opened their eyes. Their faces were filled with surprise. My Lord God! The Lord God actually sent us a signal. The Night King. Kill the Night King? God is still watching me and others? It's hard to imagine. For some reason, several old monsters at the peak of the late Grand Master stage burst into tears at this moment. Their faces are reverent and sacred. Next second, a beam of light shone on several people. Buzz! The 5 people were immediately covered by a golden light. Their auras were rising steadily, and they were only 1 step away from breaking through to the peak of the Grand Master realm and reaching the Grand Master realm. How many years? I've been waiting for so many years. The Lord God has bestowed His grace upon us once again. An old man said in a hoarse and fanatical voice, I have a feeling that if I kill the Night King once, I will be able to break through to the Grand Master level. Another person also rushed to shout, what a joke. The Night King belongs to me. As long as you kill the Night King, you will not only gain endless life, but also be able to break through to the Grand Master level. Stop making noise. This mission is crucial. The 5 of us need to work together to fight the Night King. It won't be too late to allocate the Night King's ownership after the dust settles. Old Demon BA, you have already killed the Night King once and received the gift of eternal life from the Lord God, so you are naturally not in a hurry. Several people sneered. Old Demon BI looked grim. And just at this moment, several people paused at the same time, and then expressions of ecstasy appeared on their faces. They knelt on the ground hastily. he shouted enthusiastically. "Thank you, sir." Just now, they received a signal from God. As long as they kill the Night King, they can all be promoted to Grand Masters and gain eternal life. The divine power dissipated. The 5 people stood up. Old Demon Bai put his hands behind his back and snorted coldly. "A Night King destroyed my Bae Feng mansion and killed my descendants. Since this time the killing is indiscriminate, then I want you to leave the chance to kill the Night King to me." As soon as this was said, an old man objected. "Haha. Old Demon Ba, this time the killing order was issued by the Lord God himself. Why don't we just rely on our own abilities?" Snort. Bei Lao snorted coldly. "If that's the case, then it all depends on your ability." After saying that, he cut his finger and made a handprint. A scene appeared before everyone. "Use my blood to find out its location." Old Demon Ba chuckled. This blood bead was exactly the natal blood bead that the god had given him, which could locate the Night King. In every life, the Night King is positioned and killed in this way. After a moment, the picture appeared. Everyone looked over. But at this glance, everyone was stunned. Because, in the picture, there was a dark shadow standing in the middle, but the position of the shadow was extremely familiar to the people present. Chapter 406, Kill the Forbidden Guardian and Increase the World Limit. They were in a cave at the border of the secular world and the ancient martial arts world, which was also the location of the forbidden area connecting the two places. The figure in the picture is obviously located in. Here it is. Ei Laomo's expression changed. He raised his head slightly and said in a dumb tone, "On above?" The words fell. Boom. The stone cave walls surrounding the 5 people began to crumble, and their expressions changed slightly as they flew toward the outside world. A night shines on the earth and dark clouds cover the sky. Tonight, it seemed darker than ever. 5 people stood in Midra, looking with slightly changed expressions at a figure who had been waiting here for a long time. Guyan held illusion in his hand and looked calmly at the 5 people who flew high into the sky from below. The cultivation base of these 5 people is infinitely close to that of a Grand Master. Because Guyan has experienced the memories of his first life, he can sense that there is even a trace of divine power in the other party. Ah, God's running dog. Old Demon Bi looked at the Night King in front of him with gloomy eyes, which was different from his previous lives. This Night King is very strong. He exchanged glances with the people around him, then turned his gaze to the other party and said slowly, "Yi Wang, you really surprised this old man. I didn't expect you to come looking for us on your own initiative. And the weapon in your hand." Old Demon Bi and the others all looked at the illusion in Guyan's hand. Several people immediately sneered, "Why, you don't need your dagger anymore. Is this a lesson learned?" After saying that, several people were covered in golden light, which was a sign that they were enveloped by divine power. It is with this divine power that they are able to counteract the power of the night. The 5 people's cultivation was raised again by the divine power, and they looked at the figure in front of them with a grim smile. After confirming that this person was the Night King, the 5 strong men's eyes flashed with greed and excitement. This is different from the outside world's perception of the Night King. In fact, they had been chosen by the gods a long time ago, and existed specifically to kill the Night King of every life. Moreover, as long as they can kill the Night King, they will be granted the legendary eternal life by the gods. For them, the Night King of this life will also be killed here by them. However, when they finished their taunting, they wanted to see the Night King's reaction. However, Guyan only glanced at the 5 people with a cold gaze and said calmly, "Last words, are these all you have?" 5 people. The air suddenly froze, as if time had stopped for a moment. Boom. Immediately afterwards, the 5 strong men burst out with powerful aura at the same time, and the violent force swept through the entire space like a tide. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent, their faces were ferocious, and they roared as they rushed towards Guyan. "Night King, you are looking for death. How many years? No one has ever dared to talk to them like this. The 5 of them are the chosen messengers of God. Cricket Night King, you are only worthy of being our food for achieving eternity." Boom. The earth shook violently under their impact, and the air was torn apart by the powerful force, making a sharp sonic boom. The 5 men each displayed their unique skills. Swords flashed, the wind howled, and all their strength poured out at this moment, as if to completely drown Guyan. A golden light was shining brightly, and the divine power surged out and turned into a magic circle that spread all around. The divine power array is activated. The power of night will be completely ineffective in this magic circle. However, in the face of all this, Guyan still stood there, expressionless. His eyes were calm and deep, as if everything was under control. Just as the 5 men's attack was about to begin, rush, Guyan's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot, as if he had never existed. What? The 5 people were startled and stopped attacking. They looked around, trying to find Guyan's trace, How is that possible? Was that a space jump? And there is no breath at all? But how is it possible that the Night King can still use the power of night? Are you looking for me? A cold voice came from behind them. And Guyan's figure suddenly appeared, as if walking out of the void. Before the 5 people could react, Guyan had already taken action. His body was as fast as lightning, and he instantly appeared in front of a strong man, and slapped out with a palm wrapped in the destructive power of the forbidden area. Bang, puff. The strong man had no time to react, he only felt a sharp pain in his chest and was blown away. He hit the ground heavily and exploded into a ball of blood mist. What? How is that possible? Something's wrong with old Demon BA. How can the Night King be so powerful? The remaining 4 people's faces changed when they saw this scene. They were moving away from Guyan at a very fast speed. But unfortunately, want to escape? Only a sound of thunder pierced the eardrums of the remaining 4 people. They were horrified to find that they had just escaped several miles when they were pulled back by something, appeared in front of Guyan again. Then, bang, 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 black hands appeared from the void and kept rushing towards the remaining 4 people. Well, how could it be? Bloody flowers made up of blood mist bloomed in the air. The 4 men escaped by cutting off their limbs. How is that possible? We possess the power of gods and can defeat the Night King. So how could we be in such a mess? They launched an attack again. All kinds of dazzling lights and powerful forces intertwined in the air, and attacked Guyan in an overwhelming manner. However, Guyan dodged like a ghost, his figure constantly shuttling between the 4 people, taking one person's life with every wave of his hand. Buff, buff. Screams and the smell of blood were everywhere. In just a few breaths, 3 of the 4 had fallen, leaving only the last one who was knocked to the ground. Looking at Guyan with horror on his face. You are really the Night King. Old Demon Bi's voice trembled, his eyes full of fear and despair. Impossible. This is impossible. How could the Night King in this life be so powerful? Shouldn't his power be sealed by the power of God? However, Guyan did not answer. He faced old Demon Ba, with his palm and his 5 fingers slightly together. Puff. In an instant, old Demon Ba regained consciousness. He looked at his surroundings blankly. Why am I still in Midra? He lowered his head and looked at the black sword on his chest. Suddenly he understood everything. What happened just now was an illusion. How could it be the former Night King? Never used illusions. Thump. The bodies of 5 people fell to the ground. Guyan just stood in Midra without making any movement. Because he is waiting for someone. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. A strange scene happened. The bodies of the 5 people were twisted into irregular shapes. Their heads detached from their bodies and flew into the air. Even his eyes turned golden. They stared at Guyan. The corners of his mouth showed a cruel arc. Mortal, you are not the Night King. If you had left the real Night King behind, you might have escaped the pain and suffering you've endured for so long. But if you... Buff. The words haven't finished yet. A dagger pierced the speaking head between the eyebrows. Guyan said coldly, next it. "You. Mortal, you have lost your chance to survive. We, the servants of heaven, will make you understand. What do you mean by destiny cannot be violated?" It seemed that Guyan's words angered them, and the faces of the 5 heads suddenly became extremely hideous. Immediately following, buzz, a cult book flew out and was summoned by Guyan. "Ow, I finally recovered my memory. I'm going to eat all of you." The cultist excitedly pounced on the head and ate it up in an instant. "It's so useless, it only has a tiny bit of divine power. Not even enough for me to fill my teeth." Zedai and Fei looked back at Yan. The latter grasped the dagger, which at this time had absorbed a trace of divine power. And Guyan also absorbed the power of 5 grandmasters at the peak of the late stage. With the help of divine power, he broke through the highest limit of this world. That is the Grand Master. Is this the highest level in this world? Guyan clenched his hands. This is not enough. The gods guarantee that it is above the divine quality. I wish to improve my ability to kill Tiandao. Zidayan's mouth twitched, and then he shouted, the highest limit in this world is only the Grand Master. If you want to improve to such a high level, in addition to paying the price, you also need to remove the world level cap first. It really doesn't work. It seems there is no shortcut, but Guyan is not disappointed. So if you want to break through the shackles and remove the restrictions, must. Guyan looked towards a central location at the border, and slowly spoke to the evil book. If we remove the forbidden connection between the ancient martial arts world and the secular world, and we raise the upper limit of the cultivation level of this world? Hearing this, Zidayan sneered, what can the world do with just a piece of debris like this? If you want to raise the upper limit, Guyan, come and make a wish. Use the power of heaven to fight against heaven, and the price is your pure love energy. Guyan nodded. He first crushed the restrictions to allow the ancient martial arts world and the secular world to merge with each other. Then he looked at Zidian and said slowly, "Let the realm limit of this world be raised to a level that is strong enough to fight against the heavenly Tao." It seemed as if I had sensed it long ago. Guyan has never used up his pure love value from before until now. Now it is finally useful. The evil book flew high into the sky. A black light shone brightly, and he grinned and said, "Your wish has come true." Buzz. 23.21 million pure love points have been deducted, and 520 pure love points are left. What does this 520 mean? These are the words I sent to Xiao Wei. Xiao Zizi. Guyan. At this time, a cold figure cut through the void and appeared beside Guyan. The latter knew without having to guess, Xiaoling. Xiaoling stood on the left side of Guyan and looked up at the sky. A limit of the world's realm has been lifted, but because this world is just a fragment, the gods can only send their divine power little by little to intervene in this world. And even so, the power of the gods is unimaginable. After all, they are all servants of the heavens. Guyan, have you thought about it carefully? Even if it's a one-on-one fight, what are your chances of winning? Even if you defeat the servants of heaven, have you really won heaven? Xiaoling looked at Guyan. The latter's mouth corners slightly curled up, and he also looked up at the sky. He stretched out his hand, clenched it into a fist, and said softly, "We will win. Trust me." Xiaoling fell silent after hearing this. She had a complicated expression, clenched her fists and then immediately unclenched them. Then he just said coldly, "You'd better do what you say." The words fell. Hush. Her figure disappeared. Guyan, on the other hand, stood where he was, with his hands slightly lowered. The smile on his lips faded and his eyes became deep. Prepare to start working on the next step. This will quickly improve your cultivation. The current situation is a race against time, and he can't afford to rest for even a second. Abyss extinction technique. He will cast a wide net. Let people all over the world practice together. Only in this way. And he quickly increase his cultivation. Chapter 407 Linking Q, Ayu breaks through to the next level. Guyan creates an opportunity. That night, under the sky, the world had undergone earth-shaking changes. The long-standing band between the ancient martial arts world and the secular world was broken, and the boundary between the two worlds blurred in an instant. As if an invisible barrier collapsed, the energy flow between heaven and earth became unusually active, and the power that had been restrained was finally released. The limits of the world's realm have been raised, and heights and powers that were previously unattainable are now within reach. Countless warriors felt the power surge in their bodies one after another. Their realms continued to rise in a short period of time, as if they had broken through some kind of natural barrier. The warriors were ecstatic, and ordinary people in the secular world also felt an inexplicable change, as if the whole world had become different overnight. Strange phenomena in heaven and earth then appeared. In the sky, colorful auspicious clouds rolled and rolled, like a magnificent painting unfolding. The stars are twinkling. The dazzling light seems to be within reach, and even the moon appears exceptionally bright, illuminating every corner of the earth. The earth shook and the mountains and rivers echoed, as if welcoming the arrival of something great. In this vision, one can faintly hear the sound of distant bells, which seems to come from the distant ancient times and is very touching. Countless warriors sit cross-legged in the sound of the bell, feeling the vast and boundless power between heaven and earth. Their minds calm, as if they were one with heaven and earth at this moment. The secular world. Inside the sword department's training room, Buzz, a spatial fluctuation appeared, and Xiaoling's figure walked out. She walked towards the outside of the training room with an expressionless face. Buzz. With every step she takes, a spiritual blade gathers behind her. Buzz, 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 until she walked out of the practice room. Behind Xiaoling, a total of 26 spiritual blades have already condensed. It was as if his state of mind had been suppressed for a long time and was finally released at this moment. Xiaoling's strength increased dramatically. After Grand Master, there are 5 more realms. It is divided into late grade, earth grade, heaven grade, immortal grade and divine grade. According to the realm classification, she has now broken through to the Grand Master level and reached the last level, and as a spiritualist, she is invincible in the same realm. If Xiaoling is the main personality, she can also use the power of night. But the two forces combined, even a powerful earth-level warrior would not be her opponent. Certainly, this world has just raised its upper limit, and she is probably the only late-stage strongman in the entire world. But this is not enough. The enemy in the dark is above the divine level. The strength of a later product is still not enough. Xiaoling sighed softly. The other me, the power of the spiritualist, was developed by you, and only you can control it more skillfully. You have to try hard. Otherwise, in the end, the ending can only be Xiaoling closed his eyes thinking of this, and his consciousness entered the deep ocean. A warm sea of consciousness filled with flowers. Ling Qingqiu was sitting in a hanging chair, holding a book in her hands with some sweets beside her. She ate the sweets while watching happily. If you look closely, you will see that her eyes are intact, and she looks the same as she did 5 years ago. And at this time, wow! As if encountering some invader. The flowers all over the ground gradually withered. Ling Qingqiu was stunned and she looked up. I saw a person who looked exactly like her standing next to her. Xiaoling, why are you here? Ling Qingqiu was a little confused. It wasn't even daytime yet, and Xiaoling was here already. Upon hearing this, Xiaoling glanced at the food and books that Ling Qingqiu had materialized through his mental power. As their perception improves and their mental strength strengthens, Ling Qingqiu and Xiaoling can also meet each other through this spiritual world. Xiaoling got straight to the point and said calmly, "From now on, I won't come out unless it is absolutely necessary. The world realm limit has been raised after the Grand Master. There are also the post grade, earth grade, heaven grade, immortal grade, and divine grade. You are now equivalent to the latter level. Invincible in the same realm. But it's not enough. Another me will work hard to grow and cultivate to the level of a god. Otherwise, you won't be able to cope with the subsequent disasters." Ling Qingqiu was stunned. Wait. The words haven't finished yet. Brush. A ray of light flashed in the ocean of consciousness. After a moment, Ling Qingqiu opened her eyes in confusion, and control of her body returned to her. She slowly put a question mark in her mind. So sudden? What's going on? What did Xiaoling mean by this? Disaster? What disaster? At this moment, she suddenly had a strange feeling. She raised her hand slightly. Suddenly, 10 spiritual needles instantly covered the entire Zhanghe city, and accurately locked onto every person in Zhanghe city. As long as Ling Qingqiu has a thought, the mental needle can immediately pierce the brains of everyone in the city. A later stage of cultivation has completely transcended the scope of warrior's power. Ling Qingqiu quickly checked his physical condition and immediately found out. She had actually condensed 26 spiritual blades, and her strength increased dramatically. Ling Qingqiu was stunned. What was going on? The realm limit that Xiaoling mentioned. Could this be it? After the Grand Master, there are late grade, earth grade, heaven grade, immortal grade and divine grade. New realm, how could the world become like this? Ling Qingqiu thought. He just finished 12 hours of work and changed his body. How come the world has become like this? Can anyone explain this to me? Of course, I don't know why. Ling Qingqiu inexplicably thought of Gu Yan again. Because of this outrageous change, she always felt that it was this bastard who caused it. Damn Gu Yan, what are you doing again? Ling Qingqiu was about to curse. At this time, Changguan Mayayin came over and whispered. Sir, the headquarters has urgently called for a meeting. Ling Qingqiu quickly got into the state. Ancient martial arts world. At this time, Gu Yan was standing on a high cliff. His eyes were deep and calm, as if the changes in the world were nothing more than insignificant waves in his eyes. The boundaries and constraints of the past no longer exist, and the world is moving in a new direction. Rush. A chill appeared. Ling Bingning's figure appeared beside Gu Yan. She glanced at the other person, feeling surprise. Even though he had broken through to the late Grand Master stage with the help of the strange phenomena of heaven and earth, he still could not see through Gu Yan's cultivation level. This guy, how strong is he? Thinking of this, she slowly said. The Feather Emperor of the Fengyu dynasty has already begun to practice the abyss extinction technique. And before the strange phenomena of heaven and earth began, he had already taught the technique to everyone in the dynasty. Now, the Fengyu dynasty's Fengyu Gong has been completely sealed, and the whole country has switched to the abyss extermination gong. Hearing this, Gu Yan opened his palm. Dense black light floated to the whole world. And he said calmly, I have improved the abyss extinction technique. With the help of claw cells and the power of the night, it can improve the body of the practitioner and increase the speed of practice. And it can be disguised as a new technique for people to practice. Of course, I still kept the idea of devouring living beings to improve cultivation. Whether to use it or not is up to the individual. Ling Bingning nodded. She looked at Gu Yan, who was spreading these black light balls, with some confusion, and asked in confusion, what are you doing? Hearing this, Gu Yan explained, have you heard of the Man of Destiny? The Man of Destiny. That's right. There was a hint of inexplicable meaning in Gu Yan's eyes. Everyone who is destined to succeed will have their own opportunities. And I want to create these opportunities artificially. A ring that hides the soul of a powerful person. An ancient artifact that can speak. A furnace that can strengthen everything in the world. A special physique that suddenly awakened. I suddenly regained my memory of being a powerful person in my previous life. a system where you can earn rewards by completing tasks. In this world, there will always be people who think they are extraordinary. And what I want to do is to give them this opportunity that only the protagonists have. When the time is right, it will be my time to pick the fruits. Chapter 408, Night Massacre. Ling Qingqiuyu goes to the ancient martial world. Lang Bingning's expression changed slightly when she heard this. Is there actually such a solution? In this way, the abyss extinction technique can be spread around the world in another form. But Lang Bingning couldn't help but ask, with your current strength, it should be enough to avenge Qingqiuyu, right? So what? As the point of all these other methods you've taken. Hearing this, Guyan looked up at the black balls of light that were spreading all over the sky and said in a deep voice, in order to make Qingqiuyu and I happy. Lang Bingning frowned and was about to say something. Guyan turned his head and looked at the other party, saying, now I have another task for you. What? Dragon Key is scattered around the world. And each Dragon Key can provide considerable combat power. I will lend you the right to use the Shadow Legion. These days, you collect the dragon energy for me. Speaking of, Guyan raised his hand slightly. Countless black shadows poured into the shadow under Lang Bingning's feet. The latter nodded slightly and asked in confusion. Okay, then what are you going to do? Hearing this, Guyan's figure gradually faded away, and he said, clean up the battlefield. All the forces that surrounded and suppressed the Ling family back then, everything can be cleaned up. At this time, inside the high-level meeting room at the Warrior Alliance headquarters, Lan Qianyuan sat in the main seat with a very serious expression. He swept his eyes over everyone present and said in a deep voice, according to the news from the monitoring department, the concentration of the world's true energy suddenly doubled. With every passing second, the true energy will enter a stage of qualitative change. Until now, the amount of true Qi in the world has reached a terrifying stage. All warriors who use breathing to cultivate true Qi have achieved breakthroughs one after another. Even if I am an old man. Speaking of, boom, a powerful aura burst out from Long Yuan's body. His tone was not excited at all, only serious. He also broke through to the Grand Master level. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was shocked. Grand Master? Minister, you have reached the Grand Master level. Oh my god, the Grand Master who has never been seen before. The Minister has actually made a breakthrough. That's it. Why should we fear the Night King? There was excitement on everyone's face. However, Long Qianyuan couldn't be happy. A senior executive was somewhat confused. Minister, this is a good thing. Why are you not happy? That's because, if we can break through, then the enemies in the dark can naturally do so too. Even monsters will break through. Long Qianyuan said in a serious tone. His eyes heavy. If the enemy can break through a higher limit than us, then what will be the fate of us humans? This, Minister, there shouldn't be any problem, right? Yes, we still have hope for humanity. Minister Lang is here. Yeah, speaking of which, where is Minister Lang? She should have made a breakthrough as well, right? When everyone mentioned Lang Qingqiuyu, a sense of relief appeared on their faces. As long as Lang Qingqiuyu is here, they will not be afraid of the Night King. Speaking of the sword department, Lang Qianyuan's expression also eased slightly. As the founder of a new school, Lang Qingqiuyu is the gifted and extraordinary head of the sword department. Lang Qianyuan naturally understood that if it was a fight to the death, the opponent's strength would certainly be far beyond his. But now he has broken through to the Grand Master level. This is because he has been at the peak of the late Grand Master level for many years, which is why he was able to break through. But how long has Lang Qingqiuyu been practicing? It is impossible for him to break through. But it doesn't matter. As long as Lang Qingqiuyu is given some time, I believe that with his talent, he will catch up sooner or later. Just thought of this. Next second, click. The door was pushed open. Lang Qingqiuyu walked in expressionlessly. Everyone present immediately greeted, Minister Lang. Minister. Cold department. No matter in which world, the strong will always be respected. Lang Qingqiuyu sat on an empty seat, glanced at Long Yuan, and said calmly, Grand Master, congratulations. From this calm tone, someone who didn't know would think that Lang Qingqiuyu was the leader of the Warrior Alliance. Long Yuan's expression froze slightly, and his eyes became gradually shocked when he looked at Lang Qingqiuyu. What's going on? Why is Lang Qingqiuyu's aura so terrifying? Moreover, I couldn't even detect any of the other party's cultivation. How is this possible? Long Yuan thought of a possibility, and asked in disbelief, Minister Lang, could it be that you have also broken through to the Grand Master level? As soon as these words came out, everyone gasped and looked at Lang Qingqiuyu. No way? Lang Qingqiuyu is so young, yet he is already a Grand Master. Lang Qingqiuyu heard this and shook his head calmly. See this scene. Everyone just breathed a sigh of relief. But then I heard Leng Qiyu say calmly, I have broken through to the last level. It is the realm after the Grand Master. What? The last one? Minister Leng, please stop joking. The ultimate in this world is the Grand Master. Where does the next level come from? Everyone stood up quickly and shouted in disbelief. However, looking at Leng Qiyu's calm appearance, everyone had to believe it even though they were unwilling to do so. Especially Long Qianyuan, he felt the most deeply and couldn't help muttering to himself. No wonder I always feel an urge to improve after breaking through to the Grand Master level. It turns out that this strange phenomenon in heaven and earth allows all of us to reach a higher level. Of course, what is even more incredible is Leng Qiyu. He was able to be the first to reach a new realm. But why is it called the last grade? Long Qianyuan looked at Leng Qiyu. The latter said calmly, I just had a thought. After the Grand Master, there are 5 realms. They are late grade, earth grade, heaven grade, immortal grade, and divine grade. As soon as the words fell, everyone believed it. It sounds a bit strange at first, but after listening to it again, I feel that this new realm is so cleverly divided. As expected of Minister Leng, you easily considered things that I and others had not considered. Congratulations to Minister Leng for becoming a late-stage expert. A series of flattering comments were taken. Leng Qiyu remained indifferent. Anyway, it should be enough to fool him like this. And at this time, click, the door was pushed open, and the members of the monitoring department shouted in panic. Oh no, the major sects in the ancient martial arts world have sent distress signals. Their life force is decreasing. This is their entire clan is being exterminated. The words fell. Long Qianyuan's expression suddenly changed. And he immediately shouted, quickly call up the scene footage. Yes. As soon as the words came out, the members of the monitoring department quickly projected the image to everyone. A moment. Everyone looking at the scene in the video was stunned. Just see. Countless ghostly black shadows shuttled through the headquarters of the major sects in the ancient martial arts world. And every flash took away a life. Those dark shadows moved so swiftly, as if they didn't exist, avoiding all defense facilities and alerts, and stabbing directly at everyone's heart. In addition, there are several black figures wearing evil ghost masks. They are even more powerful and have killed all the sect's elites. Countless warriors fell one after another. They tried to resist, but all their attacks were ineffective against these black shadows. The screams, roars, and shrieks mixed together, filling the entire picture, making people shudder. This, what on earth is this? Someone murmured, his eyes filled with shock and fear. Bang! Long Qianyuan slammed the table hard. He gritted his teeth and roared. The Night King the Night King. Everyone, gather the warriors immediately. Activate the teleportation formation. Go to the ancient martial arts realm. This time, we must take down the Night King. Yes. Members of the monitoring department and heads of various departments rushed out immediately. Leng Qiyu just looked at the screen with an unchanged expression. These sects are all the same group of people back then. She stood up calmly. He raised his hand and tore open his face crack, and said in a cold voice, leave the Night King to me. And he walked in and disappeared. Seeing Leng Qiyu taking action, Long Qianyuan's confidence doubled. That's it. This time the Night King will surely be completely destroyed. Chapter 409. The ancient martial realm sect is destroyed. Haichu sect. On the battlefield of the ancient martial arts world, a chaos and despair enveloped everyone. The Shadow Man was like a ghost, moving freely on the battlefield. They have no entity, cannot be selected, and cannot be attacked. They seem to be horrifying beings from another dimension. Neither sword strikes nor spell attacks had any effect on them, causing all warriors who tried to resist to fall into endless panic and despair. What the hell is this? A disciple shouted in horror. He swung his sword, but it could only penetrate the shadows of the Shadowman and could not hurt them at all. Next second, phew, a Shadowman passed through his body easily, and the disciple's life was taken away in an instant, and he fell to the ground with a bang. This strange scene made all the disciples want to retreat, and their faces turned pale. No, the attack is totally ineffective. I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Hurry up and go to the teleportation formation. We have to leave as soon as possible. However, a figure quickly emerged from the darkness. Countless blood-red roses blossomed in front of the people who turned and fled. Bang bang bang. Balls of blood mist exploded. The person who came was Mei Zhu. She raised her hand, and a black hole in space emerged, directly blocking the only passage for everyone to reach the teleportation formation. How could it be? We'll all die here. When will the people from the Warrior Alliance come to rescue us? Help me, I don't want to die. The existence of the Shadow People seemed to ignore all their efforts and continued to reap fresh lives. Blood flowed like a river, screams were heard everywhere. and the atmosphere on the battlefield became increasingly desperate. And at this time, boom, 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 countless beams of light descended from the sky. This sudden change made everyone look surprised. Meizu raised her head. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Are you here? Just like what Guyan said. As expected, the ancient martial arts world had already arranged a teleportation array from the secular world. Immediately following, brush, countless figures shuttled through the light column. Everyone held a sword and wore the uniform of the Warrior Alliance. One team will go protect the injured disciples. The rest of you follow me. Kill these evil spirits. Yes. A person who spoke had a golden medal on his chest. And he was a member of the sword division. Behind him, countless sword wielders flew into the air. They summoned their spiritual blades and attacked the shadow people in the sect. Phew! A magical scene happened. The shadow man was invulnerable to any attack. The moment it was touched by the spiritual blade, it was shattered into black ash. Sword bearer. The spiritualist is here. Our support is here. The sect disciples cried with joy. They had finally waited for it. But look around. The sect's formation was destroyed and countless disciples were massacred. From the sect elders to the sect master, all were slaughtered without exception. This sect has long been in name only. Meizu looked at the swordsman flying towards her. And she raised her hand to summon a black hole. Don't run. Quick. Don't let her escape. When the swordsman saw Meizu trying to escape, he immediately summoned the spiritual blade to try to stop her. But unfortunately, in the darkness, Meizu's power would increase exponentially. And a group of spiritualists who had just become sword wielders would naturally be unable to stop her. Next, do as Guyan said. That person will also come along. Except for this sect. The rest of the sects were also attacked by the Yi organization. And their goal was very clear. Directly choose to kill the sect leader, elders, and high-level leaders of each major sect, and then selectively kill the sect disciples. Such a meticulous operation must have been planned for a long time. Perhaps the Night Organization has secretly known that there will be changes in the world tonight. So they have already prepared in advance to break through today, and attack the major sects in the ancient martial arts world. At this time, the atmosphere in Taichu sect, the most powerful sect in the ancient martial arts world, was extremely solemn. The Taichu sect is the oldest remaining sect in the ancient martial arts world. With countless powerful people and old monsters, the Taichu Patriarch in the Taichu Holy Land has reached the peak of the late Grand Master stage. He usually stays in seclusion and will never come out unless it is a matter of destroying the sect. However, even such a powerful sect cannot escape the shadow of the catastrophe now. In the square of Taichu sect, countless disciples and elders gathered together with solemn expressions. There was an indescribable tension in the air. The Shadow Man was like an invisible god of death, wandering in front of the Taichu sect's mountain protection formation, trying to find a breakthrough. Master, those monsters have destroyed our outer formation. What should we do? An elder, with an anxious look on his face, asked for instructions from the leader of Taichu sect. The leader of Taichu sect is named Mo Chong Xiao. He stood in the center of the square with a stern look on his face. He knew very well that this crisis was of great severity. If he was not careful, the entire sect would be in calamity. The prophecy about the Night King on the stone wall had become unclear a month ago. It was as if the Night King's original fate had been changed again. The world suddenly changes, and the Night King invades the ancient martial arts world. This catastrophe, can they withstand it? Thinking of this, Mo Zongxiao decisively ordered, activate the inner defense formation. All disciples and elders immediately enter the highest alert state. At the same time, send people to the Taichu Holy Land to ask the Taichu Patriarch to come out. Yes. Everyone responded in unison and quickly took action. Just as everyone was nervously preparing for battle, the Taichu sect's inner defense formation suddenly activated. Powerful spiritual power barriers rose up around the sect, temporarily isolating the shadow people outside. However, everyone knew that such defense could only be a temporary solution, and a solution must be found as soon as possible. At this time, a disciple ran over. Master, the Warrior Alliance is here to support us. I passed on information. It seems that only the attack of the psychic can deal with the Shadow Man. When these words were spoken, everyone was delighted. Mo Zongxiao immediately asked, how many people came to support? Only one person. One person. Mo Zongxiao was stunned. Why is there only one person? Is that person the leader of the Warrior Alliance? Long Chun Yuan? Neither. The disciple said this with a tone of admiration. It is the founder of the spiritual master, the head of the sword department, Leng King Qiu. Moreover, he has already broken through to the Grand Master level. Master, this is Leng King Qiu, a rare monster that only appears once in 1,000 years. Now we are saved. There were strange phenomena in heaven and earth, and strong men from all sides made breakthroughs one after another. No one was surprised to learn that Ling Qiyu had broken through to become a Grand Master. As soon as these words came out, Mo Changxiao was stunned for a moment. Then a bitter smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He looked up at the shadowy figures that kept pouring in from outside the formation. He smiled bitterly. It's fate that plays tricks on me. The girl from the Ling family back then actually became the one who protected us. How does she view this group of sects in the ancient martial arts world? Thinking of this, Mo Zongxiao put aside his messy thoughts and turned to ask the disciple beside him. When will Minister Ling come? The disciple quickly responded. According to the news from the Alliance, they are here now. As soon as he finished speaking, a roar suddenly came from the sky. Boom boom boom. Bang. Then swarms of tiny flying swords suddenly appeared from outside the inner magic circle. Like a rainstorm of flying swords, attacking the shadow man outside the magic circle with the force of thunder. In just the blink of an eye, these horrific shadow men were all annihilated by the flying swords and turned into nothing. Chapter 410, The Death of Taichu Patriarch. Ling Qiyu faces the Night King. Such powerful fighting power directly shocked everyone. They all looked in the direction where the flying sword came from, and saw a woman in a white uniform slowly walking out of the void. She was full of vigor and had an indifferent look between her brows. The terrifying pressure spread throughout the place, and everyone gasped. The mere aftermath of the power of a late-stage strongman was enough to make everyone present so terrified. Minister Ling is so terrifying. Rush. Ling Qiyu passed through the magic circle with an indifferent expression and landed in front of Mo Changxiao and others. Minister Ling. Mo Zongxiao immediately bowed and saluted. And all the disciples also saluted, with a little more in their hearts. Ling Qiyu nodded slightly and glanced at the battlefield around her. She thought to herself that the core members of Taichu sect did not suffer too many casualties. Is it because of the external magic formation, or that guy never thought of destroying the Taichu sect? Thinking back to the past, the Taichu sect did not directly encircle and suppress the Ling family, but the other party's Taichu ancestor vaguely calculated the location of the Night King. This indirectly led to the demise of the Ling family. So, these people don't have to die, but the Taichu ancestor must die. She suddenly discovered that her mental power was covering her. There was a familiar aura that had already been somewhere in the Taichu sect. She withdrew her perception and her eyes, glowing with pure white light, swept over Mo Zongxiao and the others. Let our alliance handle the rest. You must immediately withdraw from Taichu sect through the teleportation formation. As soon as these words came out, Mo Zongxiao was stunned. Minister Lang, why is this? Hasn't the crisis outside been resolved? However, Ling Qiyu said calmly, Yi Wang, it is very likely that he wants to harm the Taichu Patriarch. What? Mo Changxiao's expression changed, but before he could ask anything else, Ling Qiyu's figure immediately disappeared from the spot. A bunch of disciples were left looking at each other, and they looked at Mo Zongxiao. Sect Master, what should we do? The latter's expression kept changing, and finally he sighed and said, retreat outside if the Night King really wants to attack the ancestor. We can't do anything. The world is changing so drastically that even the Night King might have broken through his current realm. Yes. Inside the Taichu Holy Land, in an ancient palace, the Taichu Patriarch was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, resting. Suddenly, his eyes opened sharply. His gaze was as sharp as torches, as if he could penetrate layers of space and see the crisis outside. It seems that a great catastrophe is really coming. The Taichu Patriarch sighed softly, his voice full of desolation. He slowly stood up, his entire body emitting an extremely powerful aura. Ancestor, our sect is in trouble, please come out. A disciple hurried into the palace and knelt on the ground respectfully. I see. Patriarch Taichu nodded and was about to walk out of the palace. Sudden bang! The disciple who brought the news was instantly crushed into a ball of blood mist by a giant black hand that stretched out from the void. At the same time, his soul was extracted and held in the giant hand. The giant black hand slowly floated behind a figure, as if offering a trophy. Then, brush, 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 dark shadows poured out from the palace. A solemn and dreary atmosphere appeared. The expression of Taichu Patriarch changed, and he looked up and forward. Just see. I don't know when. The black figure actually appeared here. The black figure seemed to be shrouded in a thick fog, which was as black as ink and seemed to be able to swallow up the light, making it impossible to see his face clearly. His breath was as deep as the abyss of a quiet night, cold and ruthless. The black robe on his body flowed slowly like a living thing, emitting bursts of chilliness that made people shudder. This person is Night King? The Taichu Patriarch's voice trembled slightly. Isora, have you broken through to the Grand Master level? Incredibly, the Night King has never broken through to the Grand Master level. And this time the prophecy on the stone wall about the Night King's death became blurred and disappeared. So it was because the Night King had broken through to become a Grand Master. Grand Ancestor Taichu. Guyan absorbed the soul and looked at the old man in the palace with cold eyes. You should die. The words fell. Buzz. A black dagger suddenly appeared in front of Guyan and shot towards the Taichu ancestor. Wherever the dagger passed, the power of night raged and the surrounding space began to collapse and tremble. Dagger. The expression of Taichu Patriarch suddenly changed. The sudden attack of Night King caught him off guard. But he is worthy of being an old monster who has lived for hundreds of years. His fighting instinct made him subconsciously put his hands together. His true energy condensed and his aura rose. The Taichu Holy Land sect protecting technique. Dharma like heaven and earth. Next second. Boom. A golden image of Buddha suddenly appeared behind Taichu Patriarch. The image was extremely majestic, like a god descending from heaven. A Dharmakaya held the golden pestle in his hand and swung it forward suddenly. A ray of golden light slashed towards the dagger in front of him like a sharp sword. However, this time the power of the night is more ferocious than ever before. The moment the black dagger collided with the golden light, the power of night expanded violently. He actually created a crack in the light of the Dharma image, which was directly approaching the figure of the Taichu ancestor. Whoop! The expression of the Taichu Patriarch suddenly changed. His Dharma image was as fragile as a piece of paper. A Night King's attack was far more powerful than he had expected. He gritted his teeth and tried to concentrate all his energy to resist. But the power of night eroded too quickly and broke through his defenses in an instant. Even if he broke through to the Grand Master level, with the help of the strange phenomena of heaven and earth, it would be of no avail. Buff. The black dagger ruthlessly pierced into the chest of the Taichu ancestor. At the same time, the power of night spread rapidly like a poisonous snake, and the true energy in his body began to get out of control. The figure of the Taichu Patriarch trembled violently. Ugh. The corrosive feeling of the power of night was so strong that even an old monster like him who had lived for hundreds of years could not help but scream. Guyan looked at the screaming Taichu Patriarch calmly. And he did not kill him immediately. Because he sensed a breath. So Guyan raised his hand slightly. Phew. Ugh. The dagger penetrated deeper, piercing through the chest of Taichu Patriarch, and continued to drive his body into the sky. Boom. The Holy Land was destroyed, and two figures rushed into the air from it. The Taichu ancestor struggled in pain, blood gushed out from his wounds and dyed the sky red. Guyan put his 5 fingers together, and the huge black hand behind him stepped forward to grasp the other person and lifted him up in the air. Countless disciples of the Taichu sect heard the noise and looked out from afar. Everyone was stunned. Master, that's the Taichu Patriarch. Master, that is the Night King. The Night King is actually in our Taichu sect. Their eyes were filled with shock and their voices were filled with fear. The ancestor of the Taichu sect was actually lifted into the air by the Night King. The current sect leader Mo Changshao is also very incredible. He knew that the ancestor might not be a match for the Night King. Didn't you expect to lose so badly? The Night King. Is he really invincible? But where is Lin Qiyu? Where is she? Next second. Boom. Guyan suddenly exerted force. And a huge air wave suddenly erupted in the sky, shocking everyone. The power of the night was like tearing the heaven and earth apart. The black giant hand began to clench and close together. The body of the Taichu Patriarch quickly collapsed and disintegrated in the sky. Bang! In just a moment, it turned into a ball of blood mist and exploded in the sky. The tragic scene of the Taichu Patriarch spread throughout the Taichu sect. Countless disciples looked at this scene in horror, their hearts filled with disbelief. Ancestor! Someone shouted miserably, his voice filled with endless pain and anger. However, Guyan's expression remained cold and ruthless. He looked down at the people of Taichu sect, and black holes appeared behind him. One by one, figures wearing evil ghost masks and wearing the same strange black robes stepped out. His cold voice resounded throughout the entire Taichu sect, saying, "The era of the Taichu sect has ended." Speaking of, Guyan raised his hand slightly. Buzz. A vortex of energy so destructive that it seemed to be able to destroy space appeared in his palm, and getting bigger and bigger. He casually threw it towards the Taichu sect disciples below. The black energy vortex suddenly became like a small meteorite. The rocks on the ground were sucked up, and countless disciples felt the strong suction pulling at their bodies. Metropolitan! Metropolitan! The disciples' faces turned pale. They wanted to escape, but the suction of the black hole forced them to watch themselves being pulled into the black hole. Mo Changshao gave up resistance. His ancestor was dead. And everything he did now was in vain. And just at this moment, boom! A spiritual spear mixed with an extremely cold air suddenly shot towards the black hole from below the Taichu Holy Land. Grown-ups, the subordinates behind Guyan were just about to take action, but he secretly raised his hand to stop his subordinates' actions. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle. and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, as if he was waiting for this moment to come. Next second, under the gaze of everyone, the spiritual sphere pierced through the black hole at lightning speed. At that moment, it seemed as if the entire world was shaking, and the space around the black hole was violently distorted, as if it was under tremendous pressure. Boom! The black hole burst into a dazzling light, as if countless small suns exploded at the same time. A violent energy shock wave spread out, sweeping across the entire battlefield in an instant. Everyone was so overwhelmed by this powerful force that even breathing seemed to become difficult. What is going on? Everyone suddenly looked up into the sky. See. A figure stood in front of the Night King, holding a long sword that looked very ordinary in his hand. She had a cold expression and pointed her sword at the Night King in front of her. With a cold tone, he said slowly, "Stop it, Night King." Ling Qiyu looked at the person in front of him. He was not mistaken, the other person was Gu Yan. All of the Ling family's enemies back then are now dead. Revenge is over. However, what made Ling Qiyu's heart tremble was, the person in front of him was holding a dagger, and an extremely strange aura of night power burst out from his body. He seemed to despise all living things, and his tone was also extremely indifferent. "Oh, Ling Qiyu, are you here to seek death?" Immediately following, brush, warriors from the Warrior Alliance who came from other battlefields also gathered in Taichu sect. They all grasped their swords and flew high into the sky, confronting the Night King with swords. Long Tianyuan was also among them. He glared at Yuang. "Yuang, today, we will kill you. If you miss this opportunity, you may never have such a good chance to kill the Night King again." Boom! The leader of the Taichu sect also burst out with energy and shouted, "All Taichu sect disciples, listen to my orders. Join the alliance to kill the Night King." Yes. Brush. Another group of warriors flew high into the sky. In an instant, it was the Night organization that seemed weak and powerless. See this scene. Gu Yan looked up at the sky, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and a multi-timbre sound filled the entire space. "I'll give you 1 hour. If you can't kill me, then everyone here will all die." The words fell. A chilling scene happened. See. Dense and overwhelming shadow people suddenly appeared from all directions, which was different from before. The shadow people this time are even more powerful. It seems that each one is at the Grand Master level. Look at the number, it's actually the same as their warriors. Roar! Following a roar from the beast-shaped Shadow Man. The battle is about to begin. Boom! Gu Yan's figure rose higher into the sky. "Night King, let me." Long Tianyuan was just about to catch up, but he was interrupted by Ling Qiyu's cold voice. "I've said it before, Night King, leave it to me." Boom! She caught up first, and judging by her speed she was on par with the Night King. Only then did Long Tianyuan give up. But he still yelled, "Minister Cold, the Night King's fatal weakness is his dagger. Destroy the dagger, the Night King's power will be gone." His eyes were excited this time. He was closest to killing the Night King. Ling Qiyu, as a high-ranking official, will definitely be able to completely kill the Night King. Chapter 411 Ling Qiyu vs Gu Yan. The night wind is howling and the moon is bright in the sky. Only Ling Qiyu and Gu Yan were left in the sky. However, at this moment, Gu Yan was standing here as the Night King. Ling Qiyu clenched an ordinary long sword in his right hand. There was no one else around now. She stared straight ahead at the dazzling life essence. "This person is Gu Yan. Then I must stop him from killing any more." "Stop it, Night King. Too many people have died now." Ling Qiyu let go of her murderous aura. She realized that the other person was Gu Yan. That's why she was communicating with the other party calmly. Now, except for the forces in the secular world, all the enemies who besieged the Ling family back then have been wiped out by Gu Yan. All those left here have nothing to do with what happened back then. So now it's time for Gu Yan to stop. As long as Gu Yan stops at this moment, he will send people in secret to annihilate the enemies in the secular world. Then she would forever keep in her heart the fact that Gu Yan was the one who took away her dagger. When the world is at peace, she and Gu Yan will be able to live a peaceful and loving life. However, what Ling Qiyu couldn't understand, and even felt a little trembling in his heart was, Gu Yan actually looked up at her, his voice carrying a hint of mockery and indifference. "Ling Qiyu, when did you become like this? You're so considerate of others? Have you ever thought about how those people would view you if someone told others that you were once the Night King?" Hearing this, Ling Qiyu felt a surge of grievance in his heart. Gu Yan actually said such cold words to her. She clenched the sword in her hand, and the true energy surged around her body, forming sharp rays of light. "Rush!" Ling Qiyu pointed at Gu Yan and said coldly, "Your dagger is the source of your power. As long as you destroy it, you will no longer be the invincible Night King. If I kill you right here and now, no one in this world will know who I used to be." Gu Yan chuckled when he heard this. And the power of night suddenly flashed. You can try it. As soon as he finished speaking, Gu Yan moved his right hand slightly. Swish. A dagger shot towards Leng Qingqiu in an instant. At a speed so fast that it was almost invisible. Leng Qingqiu's heart sank. Gu Yan could actually use the dagger so skillfully. To what extent has he been contaminated by the power of night in these days? Don't think about it anymore. Leng Qingqiu quickly raised his sword to block. She couldn't see things, but as her perception improved, her mental strength became the power for her to locate directions. Especially now that she has reached the next level. She can directly lock onto and detect Gu Yan's current cultivation level. The other side is only a Grand Master, and he will definitely not be her match in a fight. She did not choose to use the Spirit Blade. Because the attack of the Spiritual Blade will hurt the soul. Even if it hits a dagger, the pain of hitting the soul will be transmitted to Gu Yan. So ding ding ding. Leng Qingqiu quickly swung the ordinary long sword in his hand. And his true energy turned into a solid defensive barrier.